You are unmuted.
The back one was the first one. Oh, okay. Are we ready to get started? Mr. President, can I make a motion to please begin the special meeting that was requested for 6:55 p.m.?
Could you speak up, please?
Yes, Mr. President, can I please make a motion to start the special meeting that was scheduled to begin at 6:55 p.m.?
It is now 6:55 p.m. Okay, would you all rise for the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President, I'd like to point out that before the meeting, some handouts were handed out to not everyone on the board because apparently there are not enough copies for us to see what was just handed out.
Can you speak up?
Yeah, we can't hear. I just wanted to make it known that there were some handouts passed out to not all of the board members. I asked for a copy, but apparently there's not enough copies. So something has been passed out to some of the board members, but not to Ron or I. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so Marla should be online to call roll.
Okay. Are we recording back there?
Yep.
And Marla is on.
See if she's, ask if she's there.
Marla, are you on?
Is she on back there, Paul?
I see her.
You see her?
Yeah, she didn't meet.
And she's not muted?
Because
She
you're on
can't,
from,
she can't even hear anything, Paul.
it's red.
Did you unmute the,
Yeah.
it's still red up here.
You are muted. You are unmuted.
But the microphone right there is red.
You hit that one, Paul?
No, it's red now.
There we go.
Okay.
It's green here, green there.
Green there, green there.
Green there.
Marla, can you hear us? Is she on?
No, in the meantime, you can either have the board secretary take roll, or you can, I can do it, whatever the board's preference is.
I would make a motion for Mr. Cox to record the roll. Beecher.
Second, Hernandez.
Weitzel?
Here? Yes. Yes.
Ron?
Here.
Paul?
Yes.
No. Motion carries. Mr. Cox?
Okay. Roll call, Beecher.
Present.
Hernandez. Here. Herman.
Yes.
Boulder.
Yes.
Missouri. Here. Pappas.
Here.
Weissel.
Here.
Okay.
All right. Pursuant to board policy, anyone wishing to make public comment? More? Thank you.
Larry, could you please also add me to the public comment?
Pardon?
Please add me to the public comment.
Okay. Kendra Hewitt, would you?
Would you like me to uncover so everyone can hear me correctly?
No. No, I don't. Please use your outside voice.
Your other board member has uncovered her face to speak. I figured it would be okay if I do. Okay? All right. I am speaking for Mrs. Gina Ducey. She could not be here this evening. I received a signed copy. I've already given it to the board president. I feel compelled to make a statement regarding what is going on within Beecher School District 200U. I have lived in Beecher for nearly 43 years and taught within the school district for 38 years, before retiring, and spent the last 4 as a substitute teacher. I may have taught your children, your grandchildren, or even you. I felt very blessed to spend the majority of my teaching career at Beecher Elementary School. During those 38 years, I taught under only 2 different principals. For those of you in education, that is almost unheard of, as principals do not usually stay at a school district for that length of time. I always felt that the concerns and opinions of the staff were heard and respected. respected. Under the leadership of those two principles, it always came down to this: what is best for our students? It seemed that people ran for the school board for the betterment of our schools and the education of our children. Decisions were made, and the reasons behind those decisions were generally shared with the community. For most of the part, there was openness and mutual respect between the Board of Education, the administration, and the staff. Ultimately, it always came down to this: what is best for our students? Unfortunately, there seems to be a shift in that procedure. People in elected positions have a moral responsibility to represent their constituents. The opinions and needs of said constituents should be given credence to those elected officials. With the lack of communication and transparency currently occurring within the Board of Education and towards the community, there is suspicion of personal agendas, power seeking, and unwarranted control of school operations. Is this best for our students? I am sad, angry, and frightened for the education of our children, of my beloved community and school. The unprecedented divisionness is appalling to me. I truly believe there are board members serving for the right reasons, and I thank them for their education and regret the situation currently at hand. There are going to be major decisions made in the very near future that will have an enormous impact on our students, staff, and administrators. Our true focus right now should be on educating our kids and the safety of all who are involved in that process in the midst of this pandemic. Our focus should be this: what is best for our students? Thank you.
Thank you, but I would ask that you hold your applause. Tyler Doran?
Yes. Hi, my name's Tyler Duran. I have lived in Beecher for 7 years, husband with 3 kids in the school district, wife that works in the school district, active member of the community, and lived around Beecher my entire life. School board members are voted in by the community to make huge decisions. No one's going to argue that. You are voted in with trust and faith to make the right decisions with our children and community on your mind. Over the past few months, I have personally witnessed many complaints about our decisions our school board members are making. The most recent complaint is that of Superintendent Cox. Not only have the majority of our school board members ignored the voices of our school staff in support of him, but also the community. The community that voted our board members in. Our children are attending schools where the maintenance is lacking at best. The best concern of our parents in the school district should be the cleanliness and safety of our kids. Why are our parents worried? They're worried because the school board refuses to spend money where it is needed. I bring up air conditioning. It's not a necessity. We got to be one of the only ones in the area without it. Shameful for a middle, upper class community. Now, many of the things that have been overlooked for far too long. Now, within the past few weeks, our school board members have decided to spend the district's money on what seems to be their own personal lawyers and educational consultant firm. They cost upwards of probably $150 an hour. These board members have made their decisions without the president's and other board members' prior knowledge. Don't know if this is all true. Not only have these school board members wasted more of the district's money, but have appointed themselves as only the contact with these new unneeded lawyer firms. Not only do I see this as a misappropriation of funds, but these board members have let their egos and personal agendas get in the way of the decision-making process for our school district and our children. Now, based off the latest decisions made by our school board members, it has outraged the community even more than they already were. Now, before any more decisions are made tonight, I ask the board members, are you willing to let your personal egos and agendas affect the community? Affect this community that is willing to stand against some of these decisions that are made? Is the fight worth it? With the community is growing stronger and stronger with the support of Mr. Cox. Regardless of the decision, I personally, in speaking probably behalf of this community, I ask for your resignation. Know that your resignation does not affect you as a person and shows the community that you are willing to step down and support the community. Let your community be happy with the people that we have chosen and not fight against them. We as a community want to come together for the future of our children. Nothing more, nothing less, and not be torn apart. Thank you for your time, and I trust that each and one of you will make the right decision for our children and their futures. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Mrs. Paulmeyer.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. The definition of micromanaging is, quote, control every part, however small, of an enterprise or activity. Well, if this agenda does not have micromanaging written all over it, I don't know what does. It's funny how board members want to control, but don't have a clue about board policy or what this board, especially 4 of them, have violated. Since I can only speak for 5 minutes, here are a few violations. Since this agenda came out, clearly policy number 2:14E, number 4, has been violated. A board member should not facilitate interactive communication by discussing district business in a series of visits with or telephone calls or emails to board members individually. This board has failed to have an official committee meeting to discuss new legal counsel and a consultant group with a quorum present. Policy number 2:10. Pertaining to new legal counsel and consultation group, this board failed to enter contracts using the public bidding process. Policy number 2:20. You must have at least 2 bids. I have Googled this new law firm, and what I found is quite disturbing of their practices. Shady as all get out. Clearly, there are ties to a specific board member. With these 3 board policies noted above and what is on the agenda, this is clearly illegal and will not be tolerated. When I reviewed the policies, there are at least 15 violations, which I don't have time because I only have 5 minutes to speak. I do not know why some people think they need this kind of power and to be in control. It is sad how this board cannot be in compliance of their own policies when there is a compliance manager sitting on this board that works for a company in Indiana, a utility company. Remember that conversation we had, Liz, when it took me 4 questions for you to answer one simple one when we had our candidate forum. I truly find certain few on this board of having no ethics or morals. When questions are asked, which we as a community have a right to know, nothing is said. Hell, even 3 board members still do not know why to this day Mr. Cox's contract is not being renewed and is now blindsided by this crap of firing existing counsel and hiring a new legal team and consulting group. Please remember, everybody, Juan and Liz's campaign slogan: collaborate, communicate, and children. Lies, lies, lies. They are only in it for themselves as proof that they are the only ones to have a contract with this new legal team, and board members have to submit their questions to Lynn and Juan. I'm calling this out. This is called fascism, not the idea machine. Clearly this board is split, but let me say, if you are for our children, and if this agenda item does go through, it should be amended to have one from the yes team and one from the no team to be their only contacts for this new legal team. If you do not agree to this, then it is a clear statement that you are not for our children. Now, I'll tell you what has really pissed me off. All of this crap on the agenda tonight, and you have my children last. You have every single child in this district last, along with staff and administration regarding COVID and how school will be handled next month. Where in the hell are your priorities? This should be the first item on tonight's meeting, not the last. But I forgot it's all about you and what you want, and you will stop at nothing to get what you want. Shame on all 4 of you. Your true colors are now bursting at the seams. I hope people are listening and watching this garbage that you are doing. On the plus side, you are bringing a community together and fighting for our children, which you do not care about, and brainstorming on what to do and make things right. Because remember, this community voted you in, and we will vote you out. Thank you.
Mary Ann, looks like Lono?
Yes.
Hello. As a citizen and parent, I present this list of violations witnessed to school board policy, the Open Meeting Act, or both. I feel that these violations need to be stated to the general public and the board itself. As citizens, we expect our elected officials to follow the rules and regulations that have been set before them. If they do not, we expect for them to be held accountable for their actions. The last several months of actions, or the lack thereof, of several board members have led to the appearance of corruption and impropriety at the least. In the worst case, there have been multiple documented violations which can and should lead to their removal from their positions. The calling and submission of agenda for this special meetings shows a violation, Board Policy Section 2140E4, which states that a board member is not permitted to discuss district business with more than one other board member at a time, whether in person or by telephone or email. Stated another way, a board member may discuss district business in person or by telephone or email with only one other board member at a time. However, a board member should not facilitate interactive communication by discussing district business in a series of visits with or telephone calls or emails to board members individually. Additionally, the manner in which the agenda was submitted and the agenda itself essentially silences the three other active board members by not including an executive session, which is also a violation of board policy. A motion and final action, items A and D in agenda, cannot be made to authorize the board to hire Delgado Law Group, LLC, or CNH Educational Consultants, since they did not go through the vetting process by the entire board to ensure it does not violate Board Policy Section 280E-2, which states, I will avoid any conflict of interest or the appearance of impropriety which could result from my position and will not use my board membership for personal gain or publicity. If you are not going to go through said vetting process, the community requests that Mr. Hernandez recuse himself from the votes and contact person based on the appearance of impropriety between his work and personal life. A motion and final action, items A and D in agenda, cannot be made to authorize the board to hire Delgado Law Group, LLC, and CNH Educational Consultants without obtaining multiple bids, and is misusing and misappropriation funds by circumventing the bid process, which is a violation of Board Policy Section 220-5, which specifies entering contracts using the public bidding process when required. These expenses are large enough that the bidding procedure should be required. If you are not going to go through said bidding processes, the community requests that Mr. Hernandez recuse himself from the votes and contact person based on the appearance of impropriety between his work and personal life. A motion and final action, item I in agenda, cannot be made to authorize board members Juan Hernandez and Elizabeth Duchess as the only ones allowed to communicate with lawyers because it violates Board Policy Section 2160, which states that the superintendent, his or her design, and board president are each authorized to confer with and or seek the legal advice of the board attorney. If you are going to go through this with this vote, the community requests that Mr. Hernandez recuse himself from the votes and contact person based on the appearance of impropriety between his work and personal life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna Leahy.
Hello, my name is Donna Leahy. I feel that all these violations need to be stated to the public and the board itself. As citizens, we expect our elected officials to follow the rules and regulations that have been set before them. If they do not, we expect them to be held accountable for their actions. The last several months of actions, or lack thereof, of several board members have led to the appearance of corruption and impropriety at the very least. In the worst case, there have been multiple documented violations which can and should lead to their removal from their positions. Ms. Duchess has accused Mr. Herman of not getting her a copy of the school policies, but as secretary of the school board, as outlined in School Board Policy Section 2, number 110, it is Ms. Duchess's responsibility to maintain board policy, financial reports, publicity, and correspondence. As secretary, Ms. Ducia should have been able to get her own copy of the school board policy. By not attending the ISBE BOE conference last year, BOE members violated both Board Policy Section 2, number 120-4, which states all new members are encouraged to attend workshops for new members conducted by the Illinois Association of School Boards, and Board Policy Section 2, number 80E-11, which states, I will model continuous learning and work to ensure good governance by taking advantage of school board development opportunities, such as those sponsored by my state and my national school board associations. And I encourage my fellow board members to do the same. Board of Education member Mr. Goldrick violated Board Policy Section 2, number 105-11, distributing, preparing, or for distribution, or mailing campaign literature, campaign signs, or other campaign material on behalf of any candidate for elective office, or go against any referendum question. When he participated in said activities to help BOE members, Mr. Hernandez and Mrs. Ducius get elected. Thank you.
Elizabeth Gardner.
Hello and good evening, board members and Mr. Cox. I came tonight to talk to you as a worried parent and community member. What is happening among the board members is very scary in so many ways. I oversee 6 multi-million-dollar companies, and just like you, the board, I make very important decisions every day with my team. I support 6 businesses, and I have to look out for the best interests of those businesses in my decisions I make every day. My decisions are based off the best interests of the companies, not the best interest of me. This seems to be what's happening here. Some board members are looking out for the best interests of themselves and not District 200U. If this continues, the ones that suffer here are the staff and children of District 200U. As a board, it's critical that all involved are able to work together and have mutual respect for one another, have the same goals and work together to achieve them. It's okay not to agree. That's what makes a great board, different thoughts and ideas. What's not okay is not sharing why you don't agree with one another and talking it out. I have been on so many teams in my career. If we weren't able to communicate and talk out our problems and come to common ground, the team never achieved what was intended. We are in the middle of a pandemic. How are we talking about anything besides this? Our agenda is so far off where it needs to be. To not listen and support your community staff of Beecher 200U is so wrong. This is your job as a school board member. To work with the community and staff, great school board members communicate their actions to the community. Great school board members focus on what's best for our students. Looking over the agenda tonight, it's very clear that the 4 board members do not have the best interest of our children or community. To go behind other board members, to try to fire our current attorney and hire a new one, and making the 2 newest board members the only one who can talk directly to these firms is terrible. You are not willing to work with the rest of the board and are taking it upon yourselves to create a new board, which is the 4 of you. You will never accomplish this. The school and children will suffer until the new board members are elected in the spring. Why did you run for the school board? If your goal is not the best interest of our staff and kids at Beecher 200U, I urge you to resign from your position. This is not a position meant to be held to carry out only personal agendas. How sad for our students. I love living in this town and I love the staff of our Beecher schools. Trust me, you won't win here. We won't let you. Mr. Cox, like everyone else, you have my complete support. Thanks for all you do for our kids. Thank
you. Jennifer Camilleri.
Good evening, the Beecher Board of Education Superintendent Cox. I'm going to make this short. I want to say I was shocked by the agenda that was sent out this weekend regarding the special board meeting tonight. I'm concerned to see the lack of communication between school board members and that some school board members have been making decisions that are not being discussed with the entire board. I have been in education for 19 years. 10 of those years I've spent as a school principal. I've worked with several school boards. This is the worst school board I've seen in that you cannot communicate. This cannot continue in this town. Several school board members are clearly not doing their jobs here as they should be the people that uphold the expectations and represent the citizens of our town in making educational decisions for our children here at Beecher School District 200U. I can't believe what is going on. They are trying to hire law firms and consulting firms without the approval of our full board while using our taxpayer money that we work hard for. In case you haven't noticed, we are in the middle of a pandemic, people. School district plans have been made already. My school district, we are ready. I can't believe that what we are discussing, it's the last part of the agenda tonight for our kids. I don't even know why you continue to focus your energy on removing our superintendent when you should be focusing on how we are going to be getting our students back in school. The students have already lost 3 months of school, and I don't need this to continue into the 2020-2021 school year. We need to be focusing on how we are going to get back to full-time in-person learning as soon as possible. This is a district decision based upon the infection rate within the county and town that we live in. We know that the infection rate in Beecher is very low, and that is why we need to get back to in-person learning immediately. We should be talking about our plan tonight. I have 2 students in this district, and I can't see them fall through the cracks. Please, start talking about our plans, stop trying to remove our superintendent, and start working together.
Ashley Bell.
Do I say name, where I'm from, or no? Good. Okay, Ashley Bell, Beecher, Illinois. Good evening. It's nice to see everyone today. Unfortunately, I'm here yet again addressing the board in hopes that you will listen to reason. The motions you have set forth on today's agenda are blatantly unethical. As you have heard tonight, you went against board policy, you went against, and you're going to hear a lot more about how you're going against the community. The board is comprised of 7 people, not 4, who are supposed to collaborate with each other and have transparency with the community to provide the best for the children of the district. As I stated in previous public comments, this is not merely a superintendent issue. It is a board issue. The choices some of the board have made regarding the superintendent has only helped shed light onto deeper issues within the board to the community. This toxicity is going to trickle down, and we are going to lose the greatest asset the school district has for our children, our admin and our teachers. Deslis Duchess and Juan Hernandez will prioritize the children of the Beecher community and positively influence the schools through community collaboration. Sound familiar? Ms. Duchess, you said the board, quote, can maintain or improve the quality of service it offers by considering opportunities to collaborate every step of the way, and ran on the notion that you are a highly sought-after collaborator, team player, and transparency with the community. While Mr. Hernandez, you said, quote, the characteristics or principles that are most important for an elected official are that the official should be unbiased, without individual agenda, and promote teamwork. Do these sound like the actions we have witnessed from you? The community voted you in on these statements, not expecting you to pull the bait and switch on us. Since you have clearly chosen to go against all the promises you made to get elected, and you continuously violate policy and your sworn oath, I feel like you should render your resignation immediately. Right now, we need to be focused on the children and preparing for the new year, as the July agenda item stated. Not having outside quorums and calling special meetings to get each other and waste untold amounts of money on yet another superintendent search that your community has told you repeatedly we don't need. That money should be spent on buying whatever we need to ensure the safety of our children and staff upon the return to school, or making sure they have everything necessary to successfully learn virtually. For a district that has foregone necessary maintenance issues and upgrades and penny-pinched for years to accumulate an exorbitant amount in reserves, you would think the expenditures motion on today's agenda would be unfathomable. So let's make sure everyone understands where most of you stand. It's okay to spend money on your personal agenda items, but not on items for our children. Stop the squabbling, act like adults, give Mr. Cox a 1-year extension so we can focus, plan, and get to work on ensuring our children are the priority at this unprecedented time in the history of education.
Amy Hartig.
Amy Hardig, I live at 1880 Stonington Avenue. I would like to open by thanking Mr. Cox, Ms. Pappas, Mr. Mazurik, and Mr. Herman for their continued support and transparency with the community. Your hard work is greatly appreciated. Money. If what the rumor mills say is true, which at this point is all we have to go on because the four of you, Ms. Duchess, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Goldrick, and Ms. Weissel, have said nothing, then this all comes down to money. I don't understand it. If money is the issue, why would an educational consulting firm be hired by the district for reasons unknown to the public at a price tag of $150 an hour? They claim they will establish a relationship with the board because the board members have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and they will listen to these knowledgeable community leaders. How can that happen when only 2 people on the board are allowed to speak with them? The 2 members who have the least amount of experience on the board. The 2 members who did not attend a single board meeting before they were elected. The 2 members who have not completed any additional workshops or school board development opportunities as stated in Board Policy Section 2-120-4. The educational consultants also claim they will create a comprehensive approach to transparent communication with the board. However, the 2 members appointed by themselves to communicate and work with this firm have not given transparency to board members in other matters. How can it be trusted that they will do so in this case? Quite frankly, I'm disgusted by the lack of transparency and the pursuance of personal agendas that appear to be plaguing the school board, and I'm terrified at the repercussions this will have on our school district in the coming months and years. My kids love Beecher schools. Sorry. They love their teachers. They love their principal, even when they've been in trouble, which my daughter gets into trouble often. And I love that they love going to school. Even on their very worst days, they always have had something positive to say about one thing that a teacher did or said that made their day just a little better. I worry that the destruction these decisions leave in their wake will result in the staff and teachers that we love finding another community to serve, and these communities will be better off because of it. But Beecher, we will be left lacking. Thank you.
Mandy Hanson.
I'm sorry. Hello, I am Mandy Hanson. As a citizen, taxpayer, and parent, I present the list of violations witnessed to the school board policy, the Opening Minutes Act, or both. I feel that these violations need to be stated to the public and the board itself. As citizens, we expect our elected officials to follow the rules and regulations that have been set before them. If they do not, we expect them to be held accountable for their actions. The last several months of the actions or the lack thereof of several board members have led to the appearance of corruption and impropriety at the least. In the worst case, there have been multiple documented violations which can and should lead to the removal from their positions. 1. As stated during the Personnel Committee meeting on July 2nd, 2020, the issues the Board of Education had with the evaluation tools, processes used for Superintendent Cox were in the violation of the Board Policy Section 2-130. Superintendent relationship is based on mutual respect for their complementary roles. The relationship requires clear communication of expectations regarding the duties and responsibilities of both the board and superintendent. 2. During the Personnel Committee meeting held on July 2nd, 2020, Ms. Pappas restated portions of the board policy regarding the board's relationship with the superintendent and the manner in which they are to be evaluated. Ms. Duchess responded to Ms. Pappas' statement, calling them her opinion and saying that they do not reflect the opinions of the other board members. Ms. Pappas' statements were not opinion. They were taken directly from board policy. How can members of the board think that board policy is opinion and that they can choose to follow them or not at their discretion? This is immensely concerning as a parent and taxpayer. Additionally, the only board member who could speak as a representative for the entire board is Mr. Herman. as president of the board per qualifications, term, and duties of board officers stated in Board Policy 2110. Ms. Duchess can speak for herself. Can only speak for yourself. Not other board members who were not in attendance at the meeting. Thank you.
Aaron Weishauer.
My name is Aaron. As citizens, we expect our elected officials to follow the rules and regulations that we have set before them. If they do not, we expect them to be held accountable for their actions. The last several months of actions, or the lack thereof, of several board members have led to the appearance of corruption and impropriety at the least. In the worst case, there have been multiple documented violations, which can and should lead to their removal from their positions. 1. At the June 2020 Board of Education meeting, submitted public comments were not read. This is a violation of the Open Meetings Act and the Board Policy Section 8110, Public Suggestions and Concerns, which states, quote, "The Board of Education is interested in receiving suggestions and concerns from the members of the community," end quote. The community was also informed these public comments would be posted, which they have not been, which is a violation of the Freedom of Information Act. 2, at the June 2020 Board of Education meeting, when a vote was taken on the topic of opening negotiations for renewal of the superintendent of schools contract, the Board of Education did not review the submitted petition from the community or read public comments submitted with it, which shows a violation of the Board Policy Section 8110, Public Suggestions and Concerns, which states, quote, "The Board of Education is interested in receiving suggestions and concerns from members of the community," end quote. 3, at the June 2020 meeting, Board of Education's members, Mr. Goldrick, Ms. Ducis, Mr. Hernandez, and Ms. Weissel called in, were not in physical attendance, and had to be called to attention multiple times at various times, showing that they were not following Board Policy number 220E/7, which states, quote, "I will prepare for, attend, and actively participate in the Board of Education meetings," end quote. 4, requiring the public to call in and/or email to comment for the June 2020 Board of Education meeting ahead of time was a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Past practice for community comment at board meetings has always been that those wishing to speak sign in at the beginning of the meeting on a sign-in sheet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy Weishauer.
I'm Cindy Weishauer, and as a citizen, taxpayer, and parent, I am presenting yet another violation witness to school board policy, the Open Meetings Act, or both. Number 1, there was a violation of Board Policy Section 280-E Code of Conduct, number 8, which states, "I will prepare for, attend, and actively participate in Board of Education meetings." During the policy committee meeting that was held on Monday, July 6, 2020, instead of the committee completing the business that was scheduled on the agenda, the meeting was spent explaining policy to Ms. Ducius, who was serving as an alternative for Ms. Weissel. If a board member is not prepared to discuss or take action on agenda items, they should not be serving as an alternate. This was another waste of board's time. Thank you.
Adriana Yachenko.
Good evening. I actually have one from a community member. She asked me to read before I do mine. Her name is Amy Marie Scaris. Her maiden name is Johnson. And she said, "If someone's able to read this, I cannot be there in person or Zoom because I have a previous engagement. Thank you to everyone who has and will continue to prioritize our kids. I am a lifelong Beecher resident. My daughter is a third-generation Beecher student, and my parents have lived here for 45 years. I have always sat on the edges of true school board involvement. However, I have always informed myself. My parents were coaches and drivers for students, and I believe have developed a broad repertoire of the ins and outs of both small-town politics and education. What I have watched unfold through the past 3 months is absolutely horrifying. It keeps growing exponentially with each week. I do not understand how anyone with good faith and focus, being our students, have voted Mr. Cox out of a contract renewal in the midst of the worst health and humanity crisis to face our schools and our world in the 21st century. Many people have spoken about his amazing energy and vision, a light that seems to simply surround Mr. Cox, while those who vote no have zero say to the constituents of their district. I have remained somewhat quiet until now. First, there's absolutely no way that a non-renewal of contract has any terrible reason behind it. In a closed session, it would have been shared, revealed. If there was any true and justified reason that any of us parents would find concerning, it would have been known by the yes voting members. They would never put our kids in jeopardy like that. When I saw what the 4 members of the board who voted no to Cox contract renewal are both trying to do, as well as their loss of focus of what they need to be doing as reopening looms through the COVID pandemic, I knew it was time to speak up. I can speak on several bullet points, however, I want to focus on one. I know many others are likely speaking about the obvious ego that has gone into wanting to change law firms the month after our current lawyer had to correct Liz Ducius on her obvious lack of knowledge, or why Liz and Juan Hernandez are attempting to strip the board president of contact with lawyers and ensure any and all communication will now only be through Liz and Juan, one of whom who quit policy and who's other blatantly underinformed of policy, or educational consultants who are again expected to communicate only through Juan and Liz, who are the newest and most underqualified, want absolute power. I know many others will speak to legal issues and I as well and how they are walking a line of legal at best. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm able to read clearly as to why this is happening and where the children are held. What I really want to emphasize and speak on is those who know how schools run, what passion bleeds in the halls, and who shows up for our kids daily. This is the teachers, the former lifelong learners, the union, our current teachers, and parents who are both in-district and out-of-district teachers. I've seen a unity throughout that is absolutely both in support of Mr. Cox and appalled at the actions of the board. Teachers of 40 years, principals who are overwhelmed with sadness that the members have strayed far away from their oath. Even the most crooked politicians donate to the community, help families, or can be good parents. That doesn't mean they haven't lost sight of what the focus should be. Transparency of a board should be the automatic, not the exception. To know what 4 members of this board were focused on, meeting secretly to plan, while every single school board in America is focused solely on keeping our kids alive and safe, how to do it speaks more words than anything else ever will. Simply refusing renewal of a contract during COVID crisis shows you what you think of these kids needing stability at the top, going through so much uncertainty. Thank you to those board members who have kept our kids first and those who are more concerned with power than those who are more concerned with power and deception. If you cared about the children, you have shown it in your actions and transparency. While whispers seem to be that your voting Cox out was due to you being 4 fiscally frugal board members, all the while acting recklessly and unnecessary spending for the sole purpose to obtain absolute power and remove anyone who bruises your ego, I ask, where does the children focus fall in this? Shame on you. And thank you and bless you, Mr. Herman, Mr. Mazurek, and Mrs. Pappas. You have truly a thankless job right now, and I'm grateful for your transparency and full commitment to our kids. Okay, now, and I too thank you for Mr. Cox and Mr. Mazurek and Mr. Herman and Mrs. Pappas. In all the years I've been in education, I have seen both good and bad. However, the last few weeks have caused me to feel only anger and absolute just disgust. How can 4 educated adults who have served our community make these decisions that are clearly against not just the community but your own staff? How can people who've done good turn on other board members, your staff and your students? When did this become an acceptable behavior? The calendar says July, and this year the focus should be directed on how can we make the return to this school safe for our students and our staff. If we can't meet in person, how will the education of the students be appropriate for all of our learners? Rigorous, meaningful. These are the questions and decisions that the board should be making with your administrators. These are the topics of conversation that must be had, and these are the priorities of your parents, of your community, of your staff. However, it appears that it's priority number 12 for 4 of you. Why? Can you answer me why the conversation regarding the 2021 school year is so far down this list? What is best for kids takes a back seat to hiring a law firm? Really? Right now? That's the answer I'm getting, because that's all I'm hearing. That's your priority, not our staff, not our students, not supplies, not PPE, not your athletes, not your choir members, not your band kids, not your clubs, not your teachers, your bus drivers, but your law firms. Tonight, my district is holding a meeting. They have a committee of the whole in the school board meeting. They're discussing our COVID plans to bring 3,000 people back in the building. Maybe, or maybe we're gonna do hybrid. We don't know, but they're discussing it. So when I go back to work, those kids know that their board put them first. That is what's best for kids. Not discussing and arguing like a bunch of children about who is gonna talk to a lawyer. However, their conversations are transparent and student-centered. A comment Ms. Duchess made last month. Well, the road goes both ways. You are a sitting board member. You answer to the taxpayers. We don't answer to you in a dictatorship. We have asked questions, but there's no answer. That's not transparency. That's a hidden agenda bullied through to attempt to circumvent board policy. Policy states what should be made public through committee work. Nothing on tonight's agenda appeared in any video recording or in any minutes of any committee I've read, and I've read the last 17 months. Where is transparency? This isn't a June or July problem. This has been a problem from the start. I've attended many, many committee and board meetings. Transparency and openness seem to be a problem for some of the board members. So I'm going to ask, what do you say when you do what's best for kids? Why did Mr. Hernandez vote against a salary schedule for the support staff in November? Paying a fair wage to your staff isn't best for kids. Why did Mr. Goldrick vote against asbestos removal companies? Or Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Goldrick purchasing Chromebook cases? You spend money to purchase things for our kids, but you don't want to protect them? You notice the no votes are the same group, consistently voting no. These decisions are best for kids? None of that's illegal to tell me why, but yet there's no answer. We are sitting on a surplus of 499 days. These are funds to use to bring our kids back safely, but we're going to pay $150 an hour for a consultant, but we say no to asbestos removal. Riddle me that. The last meeting, the board paid for the attorney to correct board members on Robert's Rules of Order. Your local student council at the junior high knows Robert's Rules of Order, but yet adults need to be corrected. And when you make those votes, are you prepared? Because Robert's Rules of Order is #1 in your board policy. Have you read policy? Being a part of a board means you are prepared for every single meeting you attend. Yet again, all year, at the last policy meeting, we have members quitting committees, attending without the proper information, or coming in late. It's not Mr. Herman's fault. It's not Mr. Cox's fault. You are the adult. You took on a responsibility. You come prepared with a document necessary. It's called Google. My 14-year-old has learned that lesson. My 11-year-old from being in this building and in the elementary from their teachers and coaches. When they don't come prepared, they sit for a game. They know that, and you should know that. You have a community here. We are educators, we are parents, we are neighbors. We are not complacent. We are not ignorant, and do not think our kindness means weakness. We know the channels, and we know what to use to ensure that the proper procedure is followed for every decision. I have absolute zero faith or confidence in the 4 board members' ability and intellect to make any decision for the betterment of my child, the students in this building, or the staff. You're not being fiscally responsible. You're not doing the best sense of the children. And if that is not your priority, you need to resign, because we have no confidence in your ability to lead anybody.
Ben.
Project, sorry. I can't imagine this has been an easy few months for you. And to be honest, even though I ran in the most recent election, I do not envy the position you're in. I'd like to start with Larry, Ron, and Julie by thanking you for your transparency with the community, for your open ear to the desires of the citizens you represent, and your fortitude to fight for students, staff, and the people of Beecher. Let me wish you many more years of service, as many as you can handle. Paul, Carla, Juan, and Liz, based on the comments at prior meetings and today, I'm sure it comes as no surprise that I and many of the others are not supportive of the direction you are taking the board. On 2 separate occasions, I have stood before the board and expressed my dissatisfaction and politely entreated you to change course, as have others. Unfortunately, based on the agenda items for today, it seems that this has fallen on closed ears. I know that you all care deeply for your community. Otherwise, you would not have pursued a position on the board in the first place. Please, it is not too late to honor the wishes of the community and the oaths that you took upon joining the board. Work with the entire board transparently and listen to the clearly stated will of your community. A strong and proper board member must be able to admit when they should re-examine their decisions and owes it to their constituents to act on the will of those constituents with integrity. Please take this opportunity for self-reflection and ask yourself if these actions are truly in the best interest of the students and if they give voice to the will of those who voted you onto the board. Has Mr. Cox so poorly led the district that extending his contract for 1 year longer is really a worse option than the current displeasure of the community and the resulting schism? I don't think so. Thank you.
Jen Beesterfield?
Okay, I wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about myself and my family. Me and my husband have 3 children, Carter, who is entering 4th grade, Ella, who is a 2nd grader, and Jackson is our rambunctious new kindergartner. My husband has been a Beecher resident all of his life. I grew up in Grant Park and have lived in Beecher for 13 years. Brian and I have known a lot of you guys either all of our life or many, many years. I think of myself as a calm and patient person. I try to see the good in people. I try to use reasoning when something that I don't agree with arises. It takes me a lot to speak my mind. As much as I hate public speaking, I'm like shaking right now, I cannot sit by and watch these decisions be made by the board for our children without speaking up. Enough is enough. I've been thinking about what is going on in our school board a lot. I've been praying for all the board members, the ones who have been making good decisions on behalf of our children, and the board members who have not. I've also been praying that God gives me some magical words to say to change the minds of the 4 board members so that they vote yes to renew Superintendent Cox's contract. Before today's agenda was posted, I was confused and upset with board decisions. I didn't get angry until I seen the agenda for tonight's meeting. The education of the children of Beecher doesn't even get discussed until item 13. Last year, we ended the school year with remote learning. My top priority and the priority to all of us parents and board members should be our children's education. And we have to wait until item 13 before that even gets a mention. That alone should make parents upset at some intentions of board members. It angers me that some board members find that hiring a new law group and consulting firm more a priority over our children's education. My Ella has been attending Beecher Elementary since she was 3 years old. She was in the early childhood class for 3 years and was one of the first students to be put in the new CrossCat classroom last year. My son Jackson will just be entering kindergarten. I have a genuine concern for their education. How will my daughter keep learning and not fall even more behind than other children in her grade with the special needs she already has? How will my son, who has never had a full day of school, start the first of his school years at Beecher? These are all huge concerns for Brian and I. And I have to wait until item 13 before any mention of the next school year is spoken. A board member should have the best interest of our children in mind when making decisions in regards to their future. So why in the middle of a pandemic and after we finished last year with remote learning, would our children's education be the 13th item to be discussed on today's agenda? I have spent weeks trying to wrap my mind around why the board isn't voting on renewing Mr. Cox's contract. The anger that comes from all of us is because we love our children so much. There was a time when these little bundles of joys were completely dependent on us. And now we are trusting you as board members with our most prized possessions. We are trusting that you are making important decisions with our children in mind. And that is why we are so upset. We are confused, we are frustrated, we feel helpless, and we feel our opinions don't matter. I don't need to tell you all the wonderful things Superintendent Cox has done for our schools. You all should know, and if you don't know, I'm sure you will be reminded of them by several people tonight. Our taxpayer money is finally getting used, put to good use. Schools are getting much needed improvements. What has Superintendent Cox done that would not warrant renewing his contract? What has Superintendent Cox done to warrant losing his job? When there are this many people, look at all of us, When there are this many people here pleading for you to make the right decision to renew Superintendent Cox's contract, why do you still vote no? Do you hear us? Do you hear all the parents? Do you hear the staff? Do you hear the residents of Beecher? These decisions you are making are supposed to be in the best interest of our children. You are losing our trust when you don't hear us. I'm scared as a parent of what some of your intentions with the school and our children's future is. Now, I don't know if I had any magical thing to say in the speech that could change your minds about renewing Mr. Cox's contract. I pray to God that I did. You can change your mind. You can decide to renew Superintendent Cox's contract. Do the right thing for our children. Superintendent Cox, I want you to know that if after all these pleas from residents and staff aren't successful, I hope that you leave the school district with a complete understanding that we all love you and love what you have done with our children and our schools. To the board members that are still not persuaded to change your vote, I plead with you to do the decent thing and tell us why you came to the decision you made. Help us to understand why you think your vote is right for our children, our schools, and Superintendent Cox. We need clarity. I don't envy any of you on the school board. I'm sure your stress level is through the roof. You've been assigned such an important task. I pray that you will be able to make the right decisions for our children. Our children are important to us. Please show us that they are important to you too. Thank you.
Karen Bacco? Karen?
Hi, my name is Karen Fackel. My daughter is in elementary school, and I have a few concerns as a parent. First, I struggle to understand the reasoning behind searching for a new superintendent during this unprecedented time in our life. Which brings me to my next concern. Why, now, are we suddenly looking to replace our attorney for the school board? Now is not the time for this. We need to be concentrating on our children's health and safety. That is what should be the most important thing right now. Our children have their worlds turned upside down. We need to be focused on their education during an uncertain time for them. What are the COVID opening plans? Do they also include flushing all of the water systems in the buildings to ensure the health of the student and staff? We all know, we all are concerned about the heat in the buildings, but I'm also concerned about the water quality, not only for drinking, but for washing hands and wiping down anything and food preparation. These buildings have been closed since March. That will be 5 months of stagnant water in pipes in the system. This causes concerns, especially with the high temps lately that we will be having, and we will be having them for the rest of the summer. Please tell me that the plan is to flush and test the water for things such as, but not limited to, Legionnaire's disease and Legionella. I will be interested in hearing and the reopening plans and hope that they include this. Thank you for your time.
Crystal Johnson.
Hi, all. So you guys know my story. I've been up here a few times. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Again, we've wasted a lot of people's time tonight because of certain board members making decisions that none of us are okay with. I've expressed my disbelief and disappointment in some of the board members in their most recent decisions, but this special board meeting tops the cake. What are you thinking? You obviously could care less about our students and our school. Ducius, Hernandez, you have had multiple items put on this agenda tonight and actions that you want to take, which means you're obviously working on your own agenda without discussion of anybody else on this board, which is illegal, which everybody's mentioned tonight multiple times. But you two probably already spoke to that law firm that you want to hire.
I'm sure there's been many conversations there too, which is illegal. One of the actions that you're going to do, or you're trying to do tonight, is to hire this new law firm. I hope that the town of Beecher realizes what this law firm brings. I hope everybody realizes and done their research. It's not good, not good. They have many political ties, many background dirt that is all over the place. I have articles that I will leave with you all so you can take a look at them. The major political ties and the dirt in the background, I mean, I guess that's what we get when we have people that are making decisions for our school and kids that don't have anything to do with the kids in the school. Is this what you want for the town of Beecher? Are you trying to sabotage the schools? I'm just in complete shock that you'd want to bring this type of law firm to our school board and our community. I have never been so disgusted, and I am so disappointed. I really hope that if you guys cannot make the right decision, that you decide to step down. It's time. We're done. Everybody's done. Have a good night.
Nick Flores.
Hey, man.
Hi. My name is Nick Flores, and
You may take your mask
Oh,
off.
sorry. My name is Nick Flores, and I live on 397 Woodbury Bend. I'm a student at Beecher Junior High, and I'm going into 8th grade this upcoming school year. This past school year ended with a bang, with the COVID-19 pandemic closing the schools from early March onwards. From what I have heard from my friends in other towns, they dreaded doing their work at home since most of it was handed to them before the stay-at-home order commenced. However, from what I've heard from my fellow students, and also from what I know personally, the students in the Beecher School District completed most of their work with ease, since we had the ability to work and take notes on Chromebooks. When I was far into my 4th grade school year, I had my first experience with the Chromebook. As I transitioned into junior high, I began to have more and more experience with the Chromebooks, but we had put back the Chromebooks we worked with at the end of the class. However, in late 2019, I heard the plan that after winter break, each student would have their individual Chromebooks. Of course, after winter break in early 2020, each student went back to school and received their own Chromebooks, which made it easier to complete work and take notes. Of course, as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic closed the schools, and with that, the students at Beecher School District had to transition to remote learning. Mr. Cox gave all the teachers time to figure out a plan on how to teach their students. They all managed their ways to teach the students while they were all home because they were given a good amount of time from our superintendent. We were all given the chance to chat and have things we didn't understand explained since we were able to be on a Google Meet. Everything that I've seen and heard about Mr. Cox has only been great things. I hear about the improvements he brings to the school and that he is financially smart and invests in what the students and the teachers want and what the school needs. Despite every problem that is thrown at Mr. Cox, he is always able to solve it. If there's a pest problem, he finds a way to get rid of them. If there's a faulty teacher who is not right for the school and students, he always addresses it. He sees how the school runs. Since he has been our superintendent, going to school has seemed like driving on a paved road. Every change has been seamless to transition into, which makes for a successful school year, which of course the students, teachers, and superintendent alike all want. Each student having their own Chromebook was a huge improvement. But that is not the only thing he does. Mr. Cox is not just a name. He is a face along with the principals and teachers we see around our school. He takes in the ideas of what the students and community wants, such as the walkway between the high school and the parking lot at Beecher High School. These 4 members of the school board should take Mr. Cox's lead and listen to the community and the students and what they want. Mr. Cox is an outstanding superintendent and has no apparent reason to the community to not have this contract renewed. Take into mind what the students, teachers, and community all want for the school board is not only the members on it, but it's also the community's voice. Thank you.
It takes a lot of courage to speak in front of a large group like this. I really appreciate your words, and this is what this is all about.
Amen.
Thank you. Mrs. Pappas.
Yes. Before we begin going through the items on this special agenda, that's okay, use those. Go ahead. I would like to state for the record that none of these action items were discussed as a board prior to receiving this information Saturday morning. These 4 board members acted on their own accord to overrule the president of the board, circumvent committee process, and engage the law firm and educational consultant firm without any discussion from the rest of the board. This needs to be further investigated according to Open Meetings Act and have put the integrity of our school board and Beecher School District in danger. Any financial needs for these decisions were made solely by these 4 people and do not represent and are not condoned by the remaining board members.
I got this on July 11th in the morning by a constituent that sent me a message. Was I not privileged to this information prior as a board member? I know I was in the know, in the yes vote, but
We can't hear you.
Are you guys saying I'm lesser than a board member to get this information on July 11th? Or I had no question, wasn't brought into any committees or given any information on it. So I just asked this question. I asked the table, bring it back to committee. And who decided to fire our legal team? Who decided to negotiate? President, are you aware of any of this?
No, I'm not.
So I ask, because you're all board members. We could change this. Let's bring it back to committee. I have no clue what this is all about. So if anybody would like to fill me in, I'm more than willing to listen. Thank you.
And I would like to ask the 4 who signed it if they followed proper procedure. I don't see how you could have followed the Open Meetings Act and produced this document. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Ms. Duchess.
Discussions were had amongst individual board members, just like the policy allows.
If it wasn't a chain, then how could you facilitate that?
Individual discussions were had.
Chain of individual discussions is also not policy.
Okay. We'll move into the new business action items unless someone wishes to go to executive session. I have a motion and final action to hire the Delgado Law Group LLC as Board of Education attorney pursuant to an engagement letter to serve as Board of Education attorney.
I would like to interject before we vote on this action. I'd like to point out that this violates the process laid out in Board Policy 2:160-E. In this process, the board determines any issues with the present attorney, identifies needs and qualifications, and then issues and publishes a request for proposals Formal announcement of RFP, or the request for proposal, manages responses and then begins an interview process. After the interviews, there are references and background checks as well before moving into a written contract. As there's already a written contract in this, I'm assuming that that was done without us. There was no formal vetting of this law firm nor discussion. All portions of this policy have been ignored. I would like this motion to be tabled to allow for further investigation. And I would like to know, for the record, do any of you have any ties to this firm?
That's the one that she did.
No?
To answer your question on ties, my answer is no.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
To answer your question on ties to this firm, Duchess' answer is no.
Okay. And Mr. Hernandez, you shook your head? Okay. All right. I would just like I would like this to be tabled for further investigation.
I would also like to provide a comment that the board has followed policy 2.160 in the ability to hire and work with attorneys. In addition, the policy 2.160E may be used. Note the stress on the word may. It is a discretionary policy and not required.
It's how we run as a board for transparency and integrity.
Thank you.
So I would see that.
In addition, I will highlight that vetting and qualification bios and materials were provided to both the board packet and the public information.
We had no opportunity to interview or ask any questions, so that is not a full vetting. Okay.
I second the motion, Mr. President.
I have no one that made it yet.
Duchess will make the motion to hire the Delgado Law Group, LLC, as Board of Education attorney pursuant to an engagement letter to serve as Board of Education attorney for Beecher School District 200U, waiving any and all recommendations as set forth in the district's policy manual, including without limitation those set forth in section 2.160E.
That is not in here. You have to have that corrected.
Exactly as it's written.
You cannot add your own verbiage later.
Learn policy.
I have made a motion, Mr. President, and read it aloud for the group.
Would you like me to repeat what is printed as your motion?
Yes.
I'm gonna need the motion repeated for the minutes,
Correct.
please, so I can take notes. Could you repeat it for me, Ms. Lucius?
Sure. Motion to hire the Delgado Law Firm, LLC, as Board of Education attorney pursuant to an engagement letter to serve as Board of Education attorney for Beecher School District 200U, waiving any and all recommendations as set forth in district's policy manual, including without limitation those set forth in section 2:160E.
Let it be known we're disregarding policy in this action. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a first recorded, Mr. President.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Would you like me to call roll?
Yes, please.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Zerk. No. Pappas.
Nope.
Weissel.
Yes.
Okay, okay. As new business, I have a motion to, and final action to direct the Delgado Law Group LLC to issue a letter to Superintendent Cox summarizing the contractual relationship between the Board of Education and Superintendent Cox.
I would like to point out that this also violates the end of board policy 2:160, which we've decided we don't need to follow, in which after a law firm is vetted and chosen, the public is to be notified correctly. However, these 4 board members have already planned for the law firm to begin work before the public is notified. But we don't follow policy. Go ahead.
Duchess makes a motion to direct the Delgado Law Firm, LLC, to issue a letter to the Superintendent Cox summarizing the contractual relationship between the Board of Education and Superintendent Cox.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Golder.
Yes.
Missouri.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weissman.
Yes.
Motion passes. I have a motion and final action to direct Superintendent Cox to issue a letter to Hauser, Izzo, Petreka, Gleason, and Stillman LLC, directing Hauser, Izzo, Petreka, Gleason, and Stillman LLC to transition all pending legal matters to the Delgado Law Group LLC and take all steps to transition legal services to the Delgado Law Group.
This motion does not reflect any discussion or decision that was made by full board engagement. We do not have any information, and I have asked for it, that would warrant that we should transition legal services.
Duchess makes the motion to direct Superintendent Cox to issue a letter to Hauser, Izzo, Petrarca, Gleason, and Stillman LLC, directing Hauser, Izzo, Petrarca, Gleason, and Stillman LLC to transition all pending legal matters to the Delgado Law Group LLC and take all steps to transition legal services to the Delgado Law Group LLC.
Second.
So if we're voting like we're not following policy, does that mean we don't have to follow policy as far as the rules go for the crowd?
Right.
Please,
Just asking.
you're out of order, please.
There's a second.
All right. I'll call the roll. Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez. Yes. Herman.
No.
Golder.
Yes.
Missouri.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weissman.
Yes.
I have a motion and final action to hire the consulting firm of C&H Educational Consultants pursuant to a certain agreement for professional services.
This action is a financial and management decision that was made solely by these 4 board members and does not reflect the opinions of the full board. I personally emailed Ms. Duchess to get more information, and she told me I had it, which I don't, and any information about this consulting firm or the scope of their time with us. She has not given me any extra information that was not included in the packet because the packet did not include all of the information. Your tax dollars as community members are being used without vetting in a thorough process. This is irresponsible and dictatorial in my opinion. I would like full information as to the purpose of this firm. I have not seen an RFP pertaining to this either. I would like a motion to be tabled until further discussion can be done.
I would also like to highlight for discussion, hiring professional services firms according to the Illinois School Code is not required to have a bidding or an outside RFP process.
Nope, that would just increase transparency.
But I would like to know what it's costing.
Yeah.
The cost is $150 an hour as included in the board packet materials. And currently, we are recommending what they are engaged for as motion O, which again is the priority of the district and where we all want to be on reopening and the COVID plan and implementing that with
So
our
that's all they're
superintendent.
doing? That's all their hours will be spent on? And then they're done?
The board will authorize the work of the consultants and direct all of their work.
Okay,
By the
again,
vote of
what is the
majority
scope
the
of
board.
the financial projection for this?
The scope is based on the comprehensive COVID plans that will be provided to them, both including the COVID transition plan, going back to school, any related plans, as well as the remote learning plan.
I can outline that now, though. Illinois law and ISBE clearly outlines that the plan for reopening is approved and amended only by the superintendent. Public Act 102-0643 states, the district superintendent shall periodically review and amend the remote and blended learning day plan as needed to ensure the plan meets all of the students. I'm not seeing anything about the board approval or power therein, or a contracted educational consultant that you're hiring them for. Furthermore, Public Act 101-0643 requires that school districts adopt a remote and blended remote learning day plan approved by the district superintendent. Are you choosing to circumvent the law? I have read and studied the ISBE transition plan to reopen thoroughly. Throughout the guide, it mentions superintendent roles and their work with the district plan. Nowhere does it mention school board or educational consultants coming in to approve that plan on top of his approval. So I would request that anything that has to do with that be tabled for discussion of our role of this until our role in this pandemic is understood, and to understand board member roles as that would be.
What do we pay our superintendent to do? We're paying more
Run the
money out.
school.
I mean, I preach with you guys, I'm fiscal, very fiscal, but we do pay a superintendent a salary to make these decisions. And now we're paying $150 an hour. How many hours are we gonna use them for? I'm curious, because like I said, I got the signs around.
And does it stop there? I haven't seen anything about it.
I'm asking, because I'm not sure.
To implement the COVID plan, the
Okay.
district has to have a strategy.
Right. And the superintendent and
The
staff-
strategy will also be supplemented by experts to make the district successful.
He has shown us that he can handle this 100%. It's not up to us.
I move to make the
Are you following
motion.
IDPH guidelines in your decisions?
And according to the letter, you said the same thing.
We're making sure the community did have a voice.
There's really only a skeletal of a plan that I see at all. It's July 13th, and what I saw was hardly anything.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that, I'm sure.
Well,
This
yes,
takes into
sure,
account a
but-
lot of teachers that are here, parents that are here, and everything that.
And then they're gonna meet in a couple weeks and do some more work.
That's-
It's really
that's
skeletal.
actually not
Can
the
we
schedule
put that on
whatsoever.
I was wondering if we could put that on the, and a lot of people have complained about that.
It's not the schedule whatsoever.
A lot of people have complained about that.
Is there a cap on the amount that this consultant is going to cost the district?
Not at this time and not for this project.
And not what?
Not at this time and what?
Not for this project.
So you will be still contracting them after, or just one project at a time?
One project at a time. They will operate under the direction of the majority of the board.
I was told by the parent this is the RFP that Ms. Jesus wrote that says that they're doing a superintendent search.
So the superintendent search that is also on this is a separate entity than the consultant board. The consultant board is going to be used, while I don't know what for, apparently to help them with the COVID plan, the superintendent search is a whole nother expense that will be on top of that and separate.
And how much is the new lawyer more or less than it though? Are we increasing?
Please folks, it's our meeting and we can't have public comment at this time. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I don't have a first or second first.
Okay.
Justice will make the motion to hire the consulting firm of CNH Educational Consultants pursuant to a certain agreement for professional services.
Could we have a copy of the certain agreement?
It was provided.
It's way too vague to understand what the certain agreement is.
The certain agreement is the agreement that was provided in the packet.
And I'll repeat, it is not clear. Okay.
I have a first.
Okay.
Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Harmon?
No.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
No.
Baptist?
No.
Weiss?
Yes.
I have a motion and final action to authorize certain members of the Board of Education to communicate with CNH Educational Consultants, specifically members Juan Hernandez and Elizabeth Ducius, where all board members submit their questions, concerns, or requests for advice or services to members Hernandez and Ducius, who will then submit said questions, concerns, or requests to CNH Educational Consultants 2 weeks before the regular board meetings with a copy to board members and the consultants, giving said responses by or at the next regular board meeting. Provided, however, that in bona fide emergencies or exigent circumstances, these contact rules may be suspended on a case-by-case basis.
These members were self-appointed, overruling the democratic process of a school board. Mr. Hernandez, since April of 2019, has only responded to one email, which happened to be today from me. Liz takes at least a week to respond if she does it all. This lack of communication shows these two board members would not be efficient contact. Furthermore, as their lack of transparency has proven, I don't have confidence that they will communicate my questions or concerns on my behalf. This motion is also circumventing the committee process and overrules the democratic process that our board has voted on. I would like this motion to be tabled until further discussion can take place.
I will highlight for some clarification from comments in that heard from both the public and the board. This is not circumventing any policy. This is not a policy change. This is in addition to promote transparency and improve communication. The goal will be to consolidate for an efficient and an economical process. To be in contact, to consolidate your concerns. The board will receive, the full board will receive the same information that will be sent to the consultants.
Ms. Joyce, if this
In addition, I would like to highlight that when results will be communicated back, because the same motion is proposed for the legal firm. When results will come back to the board, the information will be shared in a meeting or distribution in packet to board members, all at the same time. All information will be shared, and the consultants or legal firm will be present at the meeting if requested.
Well, I just want you to know I don't answer to you, I answer to the board president.
Yes, and we'll continue to do that.
That is okay, and we would expect the contact in the policy to follow, that the superintendent and the board president can contact the attorneys or the consultants.
So
You're
no other board
amending
members.
your motion?
No.
Or you haven't made it a motion yet.
No, but on the legal motion, it refers to board policy.
So, on the legal issue also, or only? Okay. I don't have a motion yet.
And I'm concerned about just going through the board president. I was reading in the Vedette that he seems to have no idea for the reasons, and it's not even believable, but I'm finding out people are believing that.
No, but it's true.
It's not true. I've told you many times. You've gone on the
No, I didn't know about there are no board divisions.
Duchess makes the motion to authorize certain members of the Board of Education to communicate with CNH educational consultants, specifically members Juan Hernandez and Elizabeth Duchess, where all board members submit their questions, concerns, or requests for advice or services to members Hernandez and Duchess, who will then submit said questions, concerns, or requests to CNH educational consultants 2 weeks before the regular board meetings, with a copy to board members and the consultants, giving said responses by or at the next regular board meeting, provided, however, that in bona fide emergencies or exigent circumstances, these contact rules may be suspended on a case-by-case basis.
Second.
Rick?
Yep.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
No.
Golden?
Yes.
Missouri?
No.
Pappas?
No.
Weiss?
Yes.
I have a motion and final action to issue a request for proposals for a school superintendent selection service search firm with the intended or expected commencement date of no later than July 1st of 2021 for said proposed superintendent.
That I would like to say that this should have been talked about in Personnel Committee again. The RFP was written without any discussion or transparency, and I'm the chair of Personnel, and I haven't heard anything. Liz Duchess is the contact person listed on the RFP information contained in the packet for the meeting. Am I to assume you did this on your own accord, completely by yourself? No? Without private discussion from the other 3 board members in a chain, this is concerning as a board member, parent, and taxpayer. I would like this motion to be tabled until further discussion occurs.
I can't hear Mr. Hernandez speaking to Liz privately.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't
hear him.
understand that.
I can't hear you when you're talking to Liz.
I wasn't talking.
I heard you.
I have a piece of candy in my mouth.
Okay.
Duchess makes a motion to issue a request for proposals for a school superintendent selection services search firm with the intended or expected commencement date of no later than July 1, 2021 for said proposed superintendent.
Second.
Duchess.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Golder.
Yes.
Missouri.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weiss.
Yes.
I have a motion and final action to direct Superintendent Cox to make all necessary publications and postings of all necessary notices to process the issuance of a request for proposals for a school superintendent selection service search firm with the intended or expected commencement date of no later than July 1st of 2021 for said proposed superintendent.
For this one, I'd like to know who will be communicating such publications and postings. Did you self-appoint for this as well? Is this coming from the education consultant? I just want to make sure I know who has placed themselves in charge here.
The publications and postings are a requirement of the superintendent to complete.
Okay, but that is being dictated to him, so where is that coming from? Are we going around personnel committee, or where is that?
No, the board would, a majority of the board decision would be the directive for him to complete that.
So we're not going to do the personnel for the superintendent, which we should. Just making sure I know.
Duchess makes a motion and final action to direct Superintendent Cox to make all necessary publications and postings of all necessary notices to process the issuance of a request for proposals for a school superintendent selection services search firm with the intended or expected commencement date of no later than July 1, 2021 for said proposed superintendent.
Second.
Duchess.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Golder.
Yes.
Missouri.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weiss.
Yes.
Motion and final action to exercise the option to extend the term of Superintendent Cox's contract. Motion and final action to not exercise the option to extend the term of Superintendent Cox's contract.
Items H through K are all extremely disappointing. As I stated, there are no warranted issues for not retaining Mr. Cox as our superintendent. I've asked for answers, I've not received any warranted reasons. It is our duty as elected officials to maintain a positive working relationship with our superintendent, and this was not done. These actions show a complete lack of transparency and disregard for the community, students, and staff of Beecher School District.
Duchess will make the motion and final action to not exercise the option to extend the term of Superintendent Cox's contract.
Second.
Duchess.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Golder.
Yes.
Missouri.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weiss.
Yes.
Motion and final action to not enter into an additional contract with Superintendent Cox for superintendent services.
I make the motion and final action to not enter into additional contract with Superintendent Cox for superintendent services.
Second.
Duchess.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Golder.
Yes.
Missouri.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weisel.
Yes.
Motion and final action to confirm that the Board of Education will not be renewing the contract between the Board of Education and Superintendent Cox.
Make a motion and final action to confirm that the Board of Education will not be renewing the contract between the Board of Education and Superintendent Cox.
It sounds rather redundant.
Oh, they're just making sure there's no way.
Beecher, second.
Duchess.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Goldrick.
Yes.
Zurich. No. Pappas.
No.
Weisel.
Yes.
Motion and final action to not pursue any further contracts, extensions, or otherwise, and further to end the employment relationship with Superintendent Cox at the end of his current contract on June 30th of 2021.
Make a motion and final action to not pursue any further contracts, extensions, or otherwise, and further to end the employment relationship with Superintendent Cox at the end of his current contract on June 30th, 2021.
Beecher, second.
I know this is emotional, people, but it's our procedure.
No, it's not.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Let me speak. The majority of the board at this time has spoken. You will have a chance in March to change the outlook of the board. So just remember it. Until then, let's please be civil.
Thank you, Mr. Herman.
Maybe they need to practice to be civil.
Mr. Herman.
Do you have a motion?
There's a motion and a
I
second.
have a motion and a second. Would you like me to call the motion?
Yes, I would.
Duchess.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Goldrick.
Yes.
Zurich. Pappas.
No.
Weisel.
Yes.
Motion and final action to authorize certain board members, specifically members Hernandez and Duchess, to communicate with Delgado Law Group, where all board members submit their questions, concerns, or requests for legal opinion, advice, or services to members Hernandez and Duchess, who will then submit said questions, concerns, or requests to Delgado Law Group LLC 2 weeks before the regular board meetings, with a copy to board members and the attorneys, giving said responses by or at the next regular board meeting, provided, however, that in bona fide emergencies or exigent circumstances, these contact rules may be suspended on a case-by-case basis.
Before we go on.
And I understand you're amending that?
Yes.
Was that the one you were amending?
No?
No, I provided additional clarification earlier.
I missed it. I thought that was on this issue.
Duchess provided additional clarification that this is not a policy change
But it is.
on
I'm
contacting.
lost. It's not a policy change?
No.
The policy says that the superintendent and board, president of the board will contact the attorney.
Correct, and we're not proposing to change that. This is in addition to improve access and communication among the board.
Okay, understood.
So let me clarify. So you're telling me that the superintendent and the president can speak with the lawyers, you and Ron can speak with the lawyers, even including Paul, Ms. Weisel, Ms. Pappas, and Ron, the 4 board members. Now listen, I've been on this board longer than you guys, okay? And you know, you're making these rules up, and it really bothers me. It really bothers me that you're taking my right away and my voters that voted for me. I have a right to speak with counsel. Why don't you want me speaking with counsel? Why don't you? Is it because I'm a law enforcement officer? Is that right?
I don't have.
You're exactly right. It's just like we have the right to also speak with counsel.
It doesn't say our names.
Well, it doesn't say my name.
Then let's have a discussion about it.
And I asked that earlier. You said you don't know.
because of my
That's my question. Why are you taking me away? I've been on this board 5 years. 1, 2, 3. But you're taking my right away from speaking with the attorneys? I disagree with that. Yes, you are.
Yes,
Liz,
you
it's
are.
right
Yeah.
here. I don't like to argue. You guys are my friends, okay? I consider you guys my friends. But you know, this coming out on July 11th, this stung. I'm a board member. I'm not just a regular ethics. People voted for me. And if they didn't, so be it. I still represent them. But to take my right away...
Strong-armed us into all of this. Not let that be known. And even though you voted in motion that we can disregard 2:160 about no formal vetting of the law firm or discussion, this also breaks that. These members, again, you self-appointed yourselves, and now apparently they can do it too, but not us. So this is lack of communication. I don't trust the two of you with this any longer because of your lack of transparency with this entire process moving into the email on Saturday.
Make a motion of final action to authorize certain board members.
Ms. Deutsch just said she was open to discussion. Are you still open to discussion on this, Ms. Deutsch?
Yes, nothing has been proposed to change what is presented here.
So you don't want to allow the board as a whole to be able to contact an attorney that we're hiring? Is that what you're saying to me?
This was meant to provide an efficient and economical process.
Okay.
A
How many
process
times-
that we will all share in.
How many times have I contacted the attorney myself? I've been on the board in 5 years. Can you tell me that? How's it fit?
She doesn't know.
I'm asking the question. I just need an answer,
With a 2-week time.
please.
If you would like to propose a different motion, please describe and let's have a discussion about it.
I would like us all to continue following the policy through the board president and the superintendent, where we were. I don't understand why we're circumventing. I don't think anybody here doesn't trust each other. I hope you don't. I'm just asking, why are we changing policy? I sit on that policy. That's a smack to me. Because we were just in a policy meeting. This could have been brought up. And I was transparent. I said send out to every board member policy. Because I'm transparent.
This is an operational process that supports that policy that we would
Liz,
like to be
again, you
implemented.
appointed yourself and why. It's not transparent.
So what would you like it to be?
As it stands.
As it stands. Everything.
We're not changing that.
Read this over again so that there's clarification.
So you're saying Mr. Herman can also speak with the law firm?
We should all be able to. There should be transparency. Period.
That is currently not the policy today, so would you like the motion to read that all members can contact the law firm?
Liz, that would be great.
And
Well,
the
then
educational
propose that.
consultant, but we already voted on that.
That wasn't discussed.
I would like that. I think that is fair to everybody. Because they do work for the Board of Education. I think it's fair.
I think you should we can consider consolidating it if that, again, is a recommendation from the board. Why don't we change the members then?
Liz,
Would
I'm
you want
willing.
to be the representative?
I'm willing to work with you on anything.
And I am too.
Whatever you do. I think we should table it, bring it back, and talk about it. I do. I think as a board, we're really falling off track. I don't understand it. I wish we could come together.
Mr. Cox, has there been a motion?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Can we make a motion to table this?
Second.
Call for the question.
Yep. So there's been a first and second to table the current motion. Ducius.
No.
Yes.
Holder.
No.
Missouri. Yes. Adams.
Yes.
Weiss.
No.
No.
Lies, lies, lies.
And then you just said no.
Yeah. Glad it's on camera.
Yeah.
The whole world knows.
Would you like to make some?
We're not discussing that.
We're gonna have a motion and we have to vote on it.
We have a motion.
I don't know if we do have a motion.
I don't have a motion on the floor.
Which is that, Larry? What are we at now?
Huh?
Ron, I would gladly be volunteer to replace your name with mine on this process, to consolidate questions and concerns from the board and report them with the attorney. So I would recommend changing the motion, and I can reflect it there too, to
There isn't a
authorize-
motion yet.
Right. Members, it would read Juan Hernandez and Ron Missouri.
Ms. Deutsch, would that allow still Mr. Herman and the superintendent to be there?
I think that it should be stated. I mean, we have to make sure we're following the policy, and I would like it stated that we motion and accepted that.
Be more
This
specifically.
motion does not supersede policy. We have to specifically say
Okay.
that it supersedes
Right.
policy or eliminates.
Okay, I'm just
And
making
this
sure,
is not.
because we already voted
Yep.
to not follow one policy. I just want to make sure where we're at. Okay.
Ron, are you okay with that?
Yes, I am. If the majority of the board agrees, I am.
Duchess will make a motion to authorize certain board members, specifically members Juan Hernandez and Ron Mazurek, to communicate with the Delgado Law Firm LLC, where all board members submit their questions, concerns, or requests for a legal opinion, advice, or services to members Hernandez and Mazurek, who will then submit said questions, concerns, or requests to the Delgado Law Group LLC 2 weeks before the regular board meetings, with a copy to board members and the attorneys giving said responses by or at the next regular board meeting. Provided, however, that in bona fide emergencies or exigent circumstances, these contact rules may be suspended on a case-by-case basis.
Second.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Herman,
No.
Goldrick,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Pappas,
No.
Weissel.
Yes.
Update and potential action related to the COVID-19 response plans and procedures, and require an update from Superintendent Cox related to same. Whatever that means. I don't think we need a motion on that.
No, so, as you may or may not know, June 23rd, that's when ISBE finally dropped their guidance on how schools were supposed to go about reopening. They've already clarified a few things, they've already changed a few things. They'll continue to do so. But that really gave us a starting point to really start to put some detail in place. Obviously, this is something that we've been working on for quite a while. It's a big part of this is a continuation from how we ended the fourth quarter, and so using that as a starting point. When we look at the re-engagement plan that we are going to have for our kids, there are a couple of real guiding principles in place. Number one is the fact that ISB is going to mandate we have 300 minutes a day of instruction, right? Now, if you stop and think, excuse me, I'm sitting here. If you stop and think, one of the big hurdles that we had as an organization, as a community, as a process, was that when we were in the remote engagement process, it was a lot, right? As parents, it was a lot. And now we're being put in an environment where ISB is going to mandate 5 hours a day, right? So that's even more than we were doing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what that instruction model looks like, because the instruction model is going to continue, needs to continue, so our kids learn. Because at the end of the day, our third graders are going to finish third grade this year, and a year from now, they're going to be expected to know what fourth graders are expected to know. And so we have to figure out how to get the same pace that we have had normally in this new environment. And so the internal conversation that we've been going along is to have a morning, when it's not only when it's in person, but also when it's remote, to have a morning session. Remember, ISBE mandates that have 300 minutes. To have a morning session, which is 8 to 11:30. And that 8 to 11:30 gives us 210 minutes. Then we can make up the additional 90 minutes in the afternoon in ways that really kids at just almost all levels can do. You know, maybe that's when you get your 30 minutes of PE. Maybe that's when you get your 30 minutes of additional reading, 30 minutes of self-review of concepts. So that 90 minutes, we're going to try to be creative. So it's at home. It's something that kids can self-engage in. Either way, as I said, we're stuck with this 300 minutes, which is a big deal. So that's been one of the things that we've been spending a lot of time on. The other real big piece to this is that ISBE requires masks. That's a huge piece. Because how many minutes a day am I going to expect my second grader, because I've got one, how many minutes a day am I going to be able to expect my second grader, who's my weight asthmatic, to sit and wear a mask today, right? The third piece of this is the Illinois numbers are starting to spike again. And the absolute safest way to go about this is remote engagement 100%. You put that in a blender and none of that goes together. Okay? So we've been working on these things diligently. We've been trying to start to fit them together since the ISBE guidelines dropped June 23rd. We have engaged a task force, which is outlined specifically in the ISBE model, part of the 63 pages. We have followed that by getting input from administrators, from teachers, from certified staff, from parents. And we had a full committee meeting last week. Starting tomorrow, we have subcommittee. We have 3 subcommittees, one on instructional models, one on student services, one on health and safety. And we will continue to make sure that those people are at the table, so we're not forgetting anything. So all the pieces are being covered. Okay? We're really co-developing 2 models, because I can't tell you what is going to happen 5 weeks from now. You can't tell me what's going to happen 5 weeks from now. And so the 2 models that we're developing is, simply enough, having kids at home, having kids on campus. Right? There's a good chance that a model that we would at least transition to would have some of the kids on campus some of the time, would allow for more social distancing. Maybe by then ISBE will say, if you are social distancing, you don't have to have a mask. I don't know how that will work. So we're developing these 2 models at the same time. And my guess is, as this thing waxes and wanes, we'll have to use both at different times. And so within the next, optimistically, 2 weeks or so, that committee should have finalized its work. We should be ready to go. We've already started with the federal grant money that we had. We've already started ordering masks and shields and dividers and that kind of thing that we know is going to be part of any final project that we might have later on the agenda. There larger ticket items, such as making sure that there are multiple water bottle filling stations in each building, and using those funds so that, obviously, it's very nice that the federal government was able to provide those. But there are some big ticket items that we have to have work through. So that's where we are in that process. You know, like I said, that guidance from ISBE isn't even a month old yet. It's only about 3 weeks old, and so we've been able to put that into practice, and within the next couple of weeks, the dozens of people who have been working on this should be able to have some response.
Would you address the concept that we spoke about of if children in the same family?
Of course, yes. These things are all over the map, right? Just if you look at our neighbors, we have neighbors that are leaning towards starting almost exclusively in remote engagement. We have neighboring districts that are leaning towards being all kids in mass day one. So this is all over the place. In a hybrid, what we refer to as a hybrid model, where we would have basically half of the kids at home and half of the kids in school. If we were to go to that model, we would arrange it so families are there on the same day. We know that it's very important that we're not uncommon to have high school students as with child care for their elementary school siblings, and so we would arrange that by family.
Can you speak to more details about the organization of the task force, the timeline, and the expected deliverables and decisions?
Yeah, and so really the deliverable from the task force is to fully vet these two models, because we don't know which one is going to be appropriate to use 5 weeks from now. Okay, and so with the subcommittee work starting this week, assuming that it takes more than 1 week of meeting, then the subcommittee would be the second week with the final product, if you will, to be then taken back to that full committee to be discussed the following week. So we're looking at probably 2 more weeks. Somewhere.
And what about the organization of the task force, the response rate from your inquiry, and the composition of the subcommittees?
So just to be clear, you're asking me to explain to you how I'm taking the duties?
No, I would just ask, what was the response rate from your request? You sent out a request for the community to join the task force. So
because it's important to have this community be a part of the school decisions.
Amen.
I will
And we
second
thank you for that.
And were all inquiries that responded to that request taken, and is everyone participating in the task force, and how
So
large?
the question is, did everybody who asked to participate, were they able to participate? With respect to staff and community member, no. There was an overwhelming response, and as you know, you can only have so many people participate.
And what was then the selection process for including people in either the task force or subcommittee?
The same what you use for your legality.
Mr. Cox?
Yeah, it's a superintendent task force, so I'm the one that put the people on the task force.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cox. Mr. Cox, another question. How often will you report to the board, or are you just going to report out in 2.5 weeks, and then that's when parents will make a decision about going back to school?
No, so we will also, we've been getting a lot of conversations. One of the big pieces to this conversation is there will be parents, which obviously 100% is their right. We're talking about the safety of our kids here. There will be parents that will say, regardless of your model, I'm not sending my kids on campus, which we support 100%. You as a parent always have the right to take care of the health and safety of your kid. Just like a snow day on a bigger scale. On a snow day, if you think the roads are too bad, keep them home, right? This is a much bigger scale. And so, so we need to survey our parents to determine not only would they send them regardless, but the big piece, as I mentioned earlier, but the big piece is would I send them for an extended period knowing that they have to wear masks? They have to be masked. And so once we get that data back, then that'll be a key piece to be able to finalize that and move forward.
So when can parents expect the final plans to be communicated?
Yeah, as soon as they're done. As I laid out the timeline earlier, I'm optimistic that committee should be able to finish its work in the next about 2.5 weeks, so we can communicate that out, so everybody can understand these are the two things that you might see.
And that's, of course, barring any unforeseen edicts from the governor or other personnel.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw that in the spring, right? The rules are going to change. The rules are going to change, and that's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll take care of our kids. We'll make sure that they're set in a positive environment where they can be successful.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
I have a motion before me, a motion and action to require Superintendent Cox to submit comprehensive proposed COVID-19 plans for reopening school and general operations for fall 2021, detailing multiple reopening operational plans, where said plans must be delivered to and served upon all members of the Board of Education of Beecher School District 200U by July 20th of 2020.
I would just like to say that, especially after Mr. Cox's presentation there, he's proven his leadership capabilities when it pertains to COVID-19. His handling of this in the spring and listening to parent feedback and adjusting as needed, that is something that is a very fluid and dynamic process. And to strip him of anything like that with this educational consultant is honestly offensive. To demand that these plans be submitted in a week is near impossible. We are at the beginning stages of publishing as the district, meaning the collective we. Mr. Cox, who has proven that he's extremely capable, is working with communities, teachers, staff, and many people, as he just outlined, to develop a plan that will ensure the safety of our children. This cannot be rushed. This cannot be given him a deadline. He's working on it. He will come forward with it. The other thing is that you don't want to jump out and, as you will see some districts in this week or early next week, they will start to bring theirs out, and then they're going to have to backtrack on it, just like ISB had to do with theirs. And what that does is it casts doubt on the plan and the security of the plan. Mr. Cox does not do anything without caution. And what his plan that I have no doubt will have is the safety of our students in the forefront, and also the families at home and their safety, and the teachers, of course. So for us to, in these next two motions, demand that he has this done within a week and then have it reviewed by this educational consultant firm. As I went over before, there is nowhere in the ISB guidelines that says that this is what the school board should do or anything. This needs to be amended and approved by the superintendent so that it can be added to or changed as needed by the superintendent. For us to overstep this boundary and to put this on him is micromanaging, it is offensive, and I am in complete disagreement with you putting these last two items on him, and I would like to take both of these off completely.
I like to play off what Julie just said is, we are paying him to be our superintendent, Liz, Juan, Paul, Carla, myself, Julie. He has a contract for a year. We've voted, I don't agree, but it is what it is. But he has the right, we should give him that right to run the school for the next year through his contract, and I just think that's what we're paying for. I mean, I just don't understand a consultant. We're fiscal, we all talk about we're fiscal here, we do things in projects and we get things done, but why are we spending more money than we have in here now?
The educational consultants don't know our parents. They don't know our teachers and parapros and people that are going to be working with these children in the front lines of COVID. I don't want them coming in. I want Mr. Cox, who walks around in our schools all day, to make this decision.
So I asked that we could table this, and you know, 2021 is next year, but that's what we're paying for. It's just my opinion.
Given the urgency and the unpredictability of the current COVID situation, I ask that we continue the relationship and with the consultants, that he work with them on drafts so that he can ensure that he's thinking of everything and to make it better for the success of the district. The plan to date was not sufficient. The plan provided in my board packet is not sufficient. We are 5 weeks away from school and actions need to be taken and considered. We need additional experts to make the district successful.
No, we don't.
No,
we
don't.
Mr. Cox has been in education for 18 years. I have full confidence in his leading through this as he's done an exemplary job. The educational consultants you want to spend extra money on over his salary to second guess and micromanage him is not right. It is not a good use of district funds. They are not in our district. They don't know these children. They don't know the needs in these districts. The schools, all the stakeholders that are meeting right now with Mr. Cox, that is the plan we need. They are in it. And until the educational consultants and each one of us can sit in their shoes and go through the day that they are going to have to go through, we shouldn't have an opinion.
I have faith in our Beecher 200U district. I have faith in Mr. Cox. I have faith that we're going to do the right things. I don't think anybody here, I don't think he would, or us as board members, because at the end of the day, we have to final vote on whatever he brings to the board. We actually control it. And I just don't think that spending money on consultants right now is feasible. I think we can use it in other areas. I do believe that we are paying him.
We need this this is another box that he's checking when he's probably already not sleeping in meeting with everybody and putting these plans together. And now he has to report back to someone else. You're acting as if he is not professional. That's what he is. We don't need to hire somebody else and spend a bunch of money on this from district reserves for this. This is not needed. School improvements are needed. This is not.
Getting these kids back to school.
That's what he's working on.
He's working on it.
With the Illinois
Let him
Department
do
of
his
Public Health,
job.
that's
Yeah.
laying out the law.
That's his
That's not from the
job.
governor.
We don't need to micromanage it.
I definitely had some concerns about this way that COVID was handled. During the last round, I definitely had concerns. I had concerns about, let's say, when they had the diploma distribution, and I said, why are we handing out diplomas in this manner when we're in phase 2 and it just continued? I definitely had concerns.
It offended nobody, Carla, but you can go to work, right? Okay.
Nowhere in the RFP does it mention anything about the COVID plan for CNH's educational scope of work.
No, it doesn't.
Talks about the superintendent search, has nothing to do with the plan whatsoever.
Listen, I ask one more time. Let's come together and let's table this. And,
Just make a motion to strike it from the agenda.
I make a motion to strike requiring Mr. Cox to turn in his plans in a week and to direct him to report to the educational consultants about his plan. I make a motion to strike that from the agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second.
Lucius.
No.
Hernandez. No. Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
No.
Missouri.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Weissel.
No.
Don't care. Don't care. How do you know the consultants know what to do? If this is a pandemic that has never happened before.
Never.
How do you know the consultants know what to do?
Are they certified
They
teachers
met
in Illinois?
you know?
Do they have degrees in curriculum and instruction?
Okay.
A lot of us do, a lot of your coworkers do here. Your teachers, they're called experts, consigliere.
I have nothing on the floor.
It's just gonna add more time on it when it's past us. It was all that, but not parents and teachers are available. The next, till the 20th, every day.
Can I just say something? Mr. Cox has already shown us that he can do this.
I know.
I have nothing on the floor.
I will,
Is it a time frame?
We are on
I don't-
in.
Is it a time frame? I don't see the harm in trying to get some other help in here.
sorry,
It's gonna take
Carla,
longer.
I did not hear.
Is it the time frame? I don't see any harm in trying to get some more help, other people involved,
Great, we have-
help us.
That's
He
why the
said it'll take
stakeholders
two and a half
happen. We have
to 3
nurses in this
weeks.
district, we have many people and many minds that can help us that understand Beecher and know the schools well.
And that's
We don't have to get
exactly what we
consulted.
want to
And it's
do.
free.
And it's free.
It's free.
Exactly. They
They
volunteer.
volunteered, it's free. You don't have to pay the consultant. Free.
Thanks for wasting my tax dollars.
Who's paying for the attorney this
I would make a motion,
I don't know, because he wasn't approved to pay an attorney tonight, so I don't know.
So who's paying? Is he doing it pro bono?
Yeah.
But he's over here.
Okay, please.
Yeah, you've been here the whole time, $100.
It was not out.
We got money.
Did one of you request that the attorney be here tonight? Was this approved by the 4 of you? I just want to know. Because that's $185 an hour and we're working on two hours. So did one of you request that the attorney be here?
no.
No, so we're not paying him, he's volunteering tonight? Is this our new attorney? Okay.
Duchess makes a motion to require Superintendent Cox to submit a comprehensive proposed COVID-19 plan for reopening school and general operations for fall of 2021, detailing multiple reopening and operational plans, where said plans must be delivered to and served upon all members of the Board of Education of Beecher School District 200U. The motion will include weekly updates to be sent on July 20th.
Weekly
That's
updates.
not in your agenda.
That was not on the printed agenda.
Right, I
Now
am
you're going
making the
weekly
motion.
updates.
Is making a motion.
I'm making a motion for weekly updates on July 20th, 27th, and August 3rd.
Could I counter your motion, Mrs. Joyce? President?
No, I need a second and then we can
Ron?
discuss.
Go ahead.
But
I want to counter that motion that you made.
you can ask her now if she would be willing to amend her motion.
Would you be willing to amend your motion, Mrs. Joyce?
I need a second so we can move into discussion.
No, you don't. If we get a second, we can't amend this. He's asking you if you're willing to amend your motion, and then we can act on that.
Yes, in
And otherwise,
discussion.
then we will go back to the original motion.
In discussion, after a second, it is my understanding that we can have discussion and amend to Mr. Mazurk's point.
For the second, for Robert's law.
Okay, I'll allow it.
I ask that, with my motion to yours, that Mr. Cox has the final say with our staff and on the opening plans of COVID-19.
That's actually the law.
Yeah.
You're right.
The law.
Yeah, the public act that
It's not policy that you can pick and choose to follow. It's a law.
Well, at least we still have that.
By a thread.
One good thing we have lawyers.
Okay, did I get a second on that?
It's my fault. Move on.
Can you repeat the ending of that again, Ben?
Yes, she added more information.
I'm happy she's asking for clarification before she votes on it. That's all I can ask for.
The motion that I have reported on the floor made by Ms. Lucius ends with including weekly updates to be given to the full board on July 20th, 27th, and August 3rd.
That's correct. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Weissel.
Yes.
The agenda has a motion to direct CNH educational consultants to review the COVID-19 reopening and operational plans and to provide a report to the Board of Education of Beecher School District 200U by July 27th of 2020. I need a motion.
Duchess makes a motion to direct CNH educational consultants to review the COVID-19 reopening and operational plans and to provide a report to the Board of Education of Beecher School District 200U by July 27th and weekly updates thereafter until the start of school.
And I would like to go on record stating this is a waste of money.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
I have a motion.
Second.
Okay.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
No.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri. No. Pappas.
Nope.
Weissel.
Yes.
I need a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
So moved.
The next one I'll start with them.
Second.
Motion second.
Thank you. Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes. Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yeah.
Weissel.
Yes.
The special meeting is adjourned.
That was a long 5 minutes, by the way.
We will now move into our regular board meeting at
Brian, is there water in there?
9:20.
Do we need to re-sign in and redo public comments for this meeting?
There can be public comments to the regular board.
Either fill it out again or
Fill
no?
out a form. They have to refill out a new form if they want to speak.
I'll have to know who to call.
Yes.
Fill out another form, y'all.
So disgusting.
And the towel.
Yeah, let's call the meeting to order.
Okay, I'll call roll. Lucius.
Present.
Hernandez.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Goldrick. Here. Reserve.
Here.
Baptist.
Here.
Weissel.
Here.
Okay, I need approval.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. President, before we begin, as we weren't answered, who requested the law firm here, I'm assuming we're paying, I mean, is it okay if we vote to let them to go home, or are we still going to be paying them through this meeting as well?
I don't know, I didn't ask them here.
Again, whoever requested them here, what are we doing? Because I don't want to pay 2 lawyers at $185 a pop for an hour, each hour, if we don't need that. Are you just gonna look? I mean, can you answer that?
I suggest you put it in the form of a motion.
I would motion to allow the 2 attorneys that are here that they can go so that we do not have to keep paying.
I don't know, are there any issues that we would need legal attorney?
Motion's already been made and seconded.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Been moved and seconded, we can move into discussion according to Roberts.
I would recommend they stay.
I don't see why we would need to, as they've already been here for quite a few hours, and I'm sure to prepare everything, we're also quite a few billable hours. So I would like my motion to continue.
I really see nothing on the agenda that would require any legal advice.
I'm not sure that I see, I don't see anything. People can't understand it?
No.
I don't know that we have any concerns for legal.
And then we would, if we do have any questions, that we would recommend to table those items.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
If we did have any legal concerns, we would make a motion to table those items accordingly.
That can always be done.
Absolutely.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Pappas.
Sorry, yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Hey, you can all vote the same direction.
Ah, you all can't play nice in the sandbox.
Motion carried. We move to the approval of the regular meeting minutes of June 8th, 2020, negotiations committee meeting minutes of June 11th of 2020, the negotiations committee meeting minutes of June 18th, 2020, negotiations committee meeting minutes of June 25th, 2020, negotiations committee meeting minutes of July 2nd, 2020, personnel committee meeting minutes of July 2nd, 2020, Policy Committee meeting minutes of July 6, 2020, and Negotiations Committee meeting minutes of July 9th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
You ready? Yeah. Motion.
And second was?
Ron.
Julie.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
And the approval of the regular meeting executive session meeting minutes of June 8th, 2020, negotiations executive session committee meeting minutes of June 11th, negotiations executive session committee meeting minutes of June 18th, negotiations executive session committee meeting minutes of June 25th, negotiations executive session committee meeting minutes of July 2nd, and personnel executive session committee meeting minutes of July 2nd, all of those in 2020.
So moved. Second.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
And I need approval of the July 20th, July 2020 expenses, and you did have a couple additional somewhere. Any questions on the expenses? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve the July 2020 expenses.
So moved. Second.
Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri. Yes. Pappas.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
And do we have a treasurer's report?
Is Mike
I'm here.
on?
Mike, are you on the line?
I am.
Oh, very patient young man, thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
It's all yours.
All right. All right. The balance at First Community Bank at the end of June was $3,161,235.52. We had outstanding checks totaling $25,829.64. There was a payroll expense adjustment from the 6/30 payroll of $42,024.16. That just crossed over into the beginning of July. Leaving the adjusted bank balance at $3,093,481.72. We had lunch program balance of $500.70. The interest fund at $5,000, leaving the total at $3,098,982.42. The investment balance at the end of June was $12,271,229.81, leaving the balance of all funds at the end of June at $15,370,212.23. The June receipts were $4,907,239.96. The expenses were $2,710,875.25. The individual fund balances at the end of June were education fund $6,221,872.99. Building fund $3,504,413.04. Bond and interest $921,448.72. Transportation fund $1,668,775.43. IMRF $36,422.77. Working cash fund $2,470,428.03. Tort fund $162,136.48. And life safety $384,714.77. We earned interest in June of $1338.56. The state made several distributions to us in June. State aid totaled $170,847.85. School lunch program $6858.38. Special ed private facility $42,305.35. Special ed transportation $57,670.23. Regular transportation $53,996.17. Special milk $1.93. State free lunch $64.36. And then we did receive a school maintenance grant for $50,000. We also had 2 real estate distributions in June, one for $2,880,446.16 and disbursement number 3 for $1,452,790.27. Fund balances are in the packet. That's it.
Okay, any questions for the treasurer?
Very well, Mike. So moved.
Mr. Peters, this is Duchess. I have a
Yeah.
question. Given the change in the real estate tax schedule for the calendar year 2020, do you have any estimated impact of what that would do on the amount of money per payment that we would receive this year, or any updates for the board?
I don't have, that'd be something we'd have to look into a little bit more as far as how those disbursements are split. You can see in those 2 that we did receive, and even in the first one, which was much less than those 2, it does vary. So that's something I'd have to look into a little bit more.
Okay. Something we should just be cognizant of, watching the cash flow and the timing of that, given the change in the schedule.
Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved. Duchess?
I'll second it.
I had Ron with the first.
You got Ron, okay. Duchess, you'll second?
Yes.
Duchess.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Zerk.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
All right, and we move to public comment.
Yay!
Amy Hartig.
Right? Okay. So I apologize to the board members. I'm actually going to address the public, if you don't mind. So we, the community members of Beecher 200U, have created this petition right here in my hand as an expression of our vote of no confidence in BOE members Juan Hernandez and Elizabeth Duchess and their ability to run our school district. We understand the severity of this decision and did not arrive at it hastily. Throughout the past year, we have had concerns regarding their leadership, specifically regarding trust, collaboration, decision-making, vision, and lack of transparency. The action petition for we, the undersigned community members of Beecher 200U, have composed this petition to express our dissatisfaction with and present a vote of no confidence as BOE members to Juan Hernandez and Elizabeth Ducius. If anyone is willing to sign or route one of these petitions for signatures, please contact Adriana Diachenko, Janet Paulmeyer, Ashley Belt, or myself, Amy Harding. Thank you very much for your time.
Ben?
I know she always skipped the U session. I don't have any prepared comments.
It's not spelled like that.
No, it's a tough one. So I have to wing it. Overall, the whole course of the last couple of months, I've been paying a lot of attention to what's going on here. And one thing that surprised me is that on Facebook, on our local Facebook pages, I have not seen a single person say anything negative about Mr. Cox. Now, I don't know if any of you go on Facebook, but that's essentially impossible. I mean, it could not happen. For that to happen, this is a special situation. When I've seen people argue why we should accept this decision, it is simply because the people making the decision are good people. And that's true. I mean, I've interacted with a lot of you. Carla, we built the school playground together, I've seen you, Paul, at hundreds of community events, and you are always, going for that. Juan, we put together breakfast with Santa this year, and we had a good time doing it. I just haven't had a chance to really work with you yet. So I know you guys have good people, so I don't understand why in this situation it's not apparent, because the voices here are very clear. And I don't understand why a lot of the decisions made tonight couldn't have waited. Ron made a very, very reasonable request to take some of these back to committee just to talk through them further. And that was not even considered. And I don't think that's fair to the rest of the board or to our community or to our kids. Now, one of the people that spoke earlier mentioned that we were upset about this because we care about our kids. That's very true. None of this is personal. I don't hold any personal grudge with any of you. But we care very deeply about our children, and this is the way we think it should go. Thank you.
Randy Flores?
Randy Flores, 397 Woodbury Bend. Just for the record, I did make a request to Ms. Helt to speak specifically at the previous special meeting. Wouldn't have made a difference anyway, so what the heck. So I'll just throw that out, much like we throw out our board policy. So forgive me if this isn't fluid, or as fluid as my son's speech. Because I'm just going to piece some of this together to the issues that are no longer pertinent. So I honestly don't even know where to begin with the number of issues that are happening in our school board. I admitted at the last regular school board meetings that it was the first that I attended. I came to show my support for Mr. Cox, and now as I've attended additional committee meetings, I'm quickly coming to realize we have some major issues and discrepancies with our board. So I wasn't sure what to address first, so I would have started with what should be the most important, which is our students. So it was the 13th item on that agenda, 13th item. So actions speak louder than words. So the fact that our kids returning back to school in this pandemic was the 13th item shows some of the board members' priority of our children. So just to address all of those A through L on the agenda, I don't know if they're legal. I'm not a lawyer. I read through pages of school board policy, ISBE policy, if that's what it is. I'm confused. So I don't know if it's legal, but it definitely sounds immoral and gives the appearance of impropriety. This is a board that serves the public. Therefore, the board should be able to answer to the public on its actions. Now, there have been people on this board that I've looked up to as community leaders, as mentors, and now I'm questioning their actions and asking why with seemingly no answers. If you are in fact working at, acting on the best interests of our children, you should be able to answer the questions that the public is asking you. I read through the CNH consultants, all of that documents last night. I stayed up very late, got up again at 4 o'clock this morning. So they stated in their proposal, they will create a comprehensive approach to transparent communication with the board. So if they want a transparent communication with the board, how is it that it's only 2 members of the board that get to speak with them? I don't understand. And then was that told to, when this consulting group was, sought out, was it told to them that they were only going to get to work with 2 members of the board? Will that firm think that this is legal, moral, or ethical? Let's see, we're going to skip there. The actions that by some on the board are immensely concerning as a parent and a taxpayer. I don't understand the request for proposal that started on page 50 of the special meeting packet. It took me a few minutes to realize that the 5-page document was authored by Ms. Ducis and not a part of the proposal from CNH Consultants. This RFP states that the district is beginning a search for qualified candidates to become its new superintendent. However, at that time, the motion to begin the superintendent search had not been made, voted on, or passed by this board. This document gives dates, timeline, scope of work, and numerous details, none of which was brought up in any previous board or committee meeting. So is our board being misrepresented by allowing candidates to believe that this request coming from our board secretary is on the behalf of our entire board when some of the board members had no previous knowledge? Again, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know school code, I don't know school board code, so this is just all things that I'm questioning as I'm trying to figure this out because clearly no one is explaining it. Furthermore, I wish that we kind of didn't dismiss the lawyers because I would like to know too if those lawyers knew that they would only have 2 contact with members on the board and if they would feel that this is legal, moral, or ethical. So I still want to give my support of Mr. Cox in his continued employment as our superintendent. I'm still baffled by the decision when there was so much support from our community as teachers. As I stood outside in the hallway at the last meeting and listened to the outcome of the motion to negotiate Mr. Cox's contract, I was disheartened, as were many others. I had overheard someone on the school staff say, well, this is the way you lose good teachers. That statement made my heart drop. What kind of message does this send to our teachers that they do not have the full support of our school board? And if they don't like the decisions that are made by the board, they could just leave? I, for one, do not want to lose any of our outstanding teachers. It would be more pertinent to remove specific board members as opposed to lose good teachers and administrators. In closing, I would like to state the actions of the majority of the board do not represent me as a taxpayer. I am in doubt of their ability to represent the public as exhibited by violating board and ISBE Code of Conduct's powers and duties of the board, as well as several other policies I did not have access to prior to writing this statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina Doran.
Hi, I'm Gina Duran. I'm just going to wing it. I am aide for the cross-task room for special education and on the task force. And to think that we need additional supervision when they do not work with the special ed kids and don't know their needs for the task force is appalling. I work with them every day. I know what they need. I can tell when they're having a bad day. They cannot. And to say we have to answer to them if the 5-year-old is throwing a tantrum and won't wear their mask, but they said they have to, is really sad. Mr. Cox is in our building almost every day. He knows what the students need as well and does not need to be micromanaged by someone else that we have to pay. Is really disgusting that you guys think we can't do our job. when I do my job well. And that's all.
Adriana Diachinko. Where do you go? Oh.
I didn't think I could get angrier this evening, but yet here we are once again. So first, COVID. I am not sure, outside of the educators in the room, but some people know how curriculum gets developed. It takes a lot of hours. We work very hard at our craft. I have 3 degrees in education. I would really like to know what qualifications a firm has. I work in a district, we're putting in a $15 million expansion on something else new this year. We don't have a firm. You know why? Because our school board thinks of our teachers as professionals. So we're the ones that are making our choices. You want your experts? Look at the payroll you just paid. You have a superintendent, you have 3 building principals, a director of special education, an athletic director. Those are your experts. You have classroom teachers. I played How Smarter as a 5th grader this year. I don't teach 5th grade. But you know who does? Those 4 people in that building this coming year. You know who teaches chemistry? Someone at the high school. They're the ones that are going to write your curriculum. So you know what you're doing? You're double dipping. You're paying an educational consulting firm, which I'm going to highly question who knows who now, because let's see, you're going to pay them to write curriculum, and you're going to pay your teachers. Because I don't care what book you get it from, I don't care where you're writing it from, it doesn't work until the staff in the building looks at the kids they're getting and makes it fit. Because that's what teachers do. And you have them here. My God, if I worked for you, I applaud them for sticking around for our kids. The utter disrespect and the unprofessionalism you are putting on your students and your teachers, that's what you're telling your own children that go to the school. I don't have confidence in their teachers to properly educate. Did you miss some of the awards that they've won? Did you miss some of the GPAs of the kids? I sure as hell didn't, because I saw the 8th grade baseball team. They all have over a 3.0. You know who did that? Not any of the 4 of you, but the teachers in this building. They're administrators. And that's what you're saying to them, that you don't consider them professionals. The state of Illinois does. And I sure as hell hope none of them quit and go somewhere else that'll treat them a lot better than the 4 of you do. Because I know come April, I know who I'm voting for, and whoever's up for election, it's not going to be you. And you can say whatever you want, we're not boycotting businesses, but when I have a choice, I'm going to choose respect. Secondly, you want to be cognizant of our cash flow. Okay, so we're going to spend twice to write the same curriculum. How is that a fiduciary responsible measure? How is that a vote that is using my money right? Because it's not your money. It's none of your money. It is all of our money. And so right now you're going to pay 2 times for the same thing. That's like buying the same shirt twice. I don't know. Why? You think you're going to teach the same lesson twice? Because I haven't taught it the same 2 years in a row. You know why? Because I'm a professional, as every single teacher is in this district. And finally, transparency. Some people need dictionaries. It's called to create an open between your managers and employees. And the acts are anything but transparent. Do not question Mr. Cox and other members of the board and demand that they are giving you each other every step they do, but yet when your constituents, who you answer to, the rest of us ask questions, but you don't want to give us respect to answer you, respect isn't given, it's earned, and you've lost it.
Ashley Belt.
I had time to read today. Okay. It was the last meeting. Sucked. It sucked. It's really sad to see what's going on for our children and what we're doing to the Cox family. I don't know them, but it's just so sad when someone gives their all for your community and you see it and you recognize it and you throw them out. They bought a house here, they made roofs, and it's the middle of a pandemic. This man has worked harder than he's worked in his whole life probably for us, and this is how we treat him. And his wife and his family. It's just ridiculous. It really is. And I was trying not to take personal business into this. I don't know him, but I'm upset for my children. Because
what we're going to get to replace him is not going to be good. The reputation that this board is building for our district is pitiful. The fact that we run through superintendents like we do, you guys can think, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. You're all business people. You know when you're in your business and you're in your niche, you talk. Community, or education people and educators and superintendents, they talk. Beecher does not have a good rep. It didn't have it before he came. I'm amazed we got him.
Don't worry, actually, they got somebody in their back pocket they're gonna bring in.
But they're not, I mean, they're not gonna be to that level. We don't pay a lot compared to other districts. He's been working 18 years and he literally barely makes as much as Shilling. That is in his first year, second year from here, that we didn't want to hire. He got a contract renewal. We can't, it's unfathomable to me that someone does a great job for a minimal amount of money. And I don't understand what we're going to hope to get from this. Because people don't want to work here, and especially after this shit show. And it's everywhere. No one is going to come to this district. Because they're not going to trust. Same thing with the teachers. We don't have AC. We don't have new buildings. We don't have stellar technology. We don't have the top of the line anything. And now you're taking away a awesome admin that they had, they trusted and they believed in. If we lose our teachers and our admin, we literally have nothing in this district to offer. And we were like, they said, we are an upper middle class district. This is shameful. And this is sad.
Jen Beecher.
Okay, so I don't think you guys heard me the last time I talked to you. So I'm scribbled a lot of stuff out and wrote a bunch of stuff, so here we go. So a board member should have the best interests of our children in mind when making decisions in regards to their future. The anger that comes from all of us is because we all love our children. Our teachers love our children. Our superintendent loves our children. This is why we are so angry. There was a time when these little bundles of joys were completely dependent on us as parents. And we are trusting you as board members to make good decisions for them. And you are not. You are losing our trust. And you frankly lost my trust. I'm sorry. This is why we are so upset, we are confused, we are frustrated, we feel helpless, and we feel our opinions don't matter. How many people spoke here tonight and it didn't change any of your opinions at all? None of your votes. We are parents of these children that go to this school. We know what's best for them, and I don't think any of you know. Please vote the way that you should. Have them in mind, not your own hidden agendas. I was going to read this, but obviously it doesn't work out. Do you hear us? No. Do you hear all of the parents? Do you hear the staff? Do you hear the residents? These decisions you are making are not in the best interest of our children. I am scared as a parent and what some of your intentions are for this school and our children's future. You have lost our trust and you're not listening to us. Do the right thing for our kids. And like they said too, if we don't have a good board behind us, if we don't have a good superintendent, what's the incentive for any of these teachers to stay? They're gonna leave. And these are good teachers. Our children are gonna suffer because of these decisions you're making. Our kids are important to us. Please show us that they are important to you too. Thank you.
Mrs. Black?
So when I signed my form to speak, I did not realize all of the other parents that were going to stand up for the teachers. And I probably shouldn't be standing here, to be quite honest with you. But my job is to support our students and teachers.
And the decisions you've made tonight really make my staff, and I know the other building staff, feel very devalued and not professional. We have been working since before the school year ended on what we can do to help these students during this time. We have had nonstop communication over the summer, which isn't typically what happens. Usually I give my teachers the summer off, hands off, I don't communicate a lot. That's their time to recharge and do their thing. Constant communication, professional development, hours and hours of professional development that we've already been doing. And we have all together had sleepless nights thinking about what we can do to make this the best experience for these kids. And some of the decisions you made tonight make us all feel like you don't trust our decisions, and it makes me feel sad. And again, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but that's my job as an administrator, is to support my staff and my students.
And
So,
thank you.
I hope you take that into account when you're thinking and making those plans, that we are thinking about all those things and we are spending all of our time, lots of it, trying to make the best decisions.
I support.
And you are, and all of them too, are appreciated.
Yes.
It does not go unnoticed.
Beecher 200 U staff, I support you 100.
I'm the board.
Are you kidding me?
Support them in your absence.
Nicole, it was very noticeable how seamlessly we transitioned during this COVID pandemic. I heard from people in other districts, and obviously you can see how Chicago is still stumbling along. I at least applaud you and the teachers here. I think you've done a fabulous job.
Thank you, I appreciate your support, Larry.
Mr. Cox, would you like to give staff reports?
Certainly. I'll be brief. I know we've been here 3 hours.
Staff is currently on vacation.
Yep, and so.
Except for Mrs. Black.
And so, I just wanted to, a couple of pieces. We've already spent some time on some more COVID timeline process. If you haven't had the opportunity, one of the things we talked about in policy committee last week is in any way, shape, or form, to make sure that we have the current board policy online. So that board policy is now current and online. The other thing is that one of the pieces that really resonated more than a year ago when we had meeting after meeting trying to put to action board goals about facilities was that there was a very clear message from the community, and at that time a very clear message from the board that the facilities need to improve. And so if you haven't had a chance, make sure that you drive by the high school, in front of the high school. Looks clean, looks fantastic. In another maybe 10 days or so, the inside of phase 1 will be done. It looks clean, it looks safe. The driveways, the 3 spots have already been done, and they've already started here. That actually done, I would say, the majority of the work on the junior high gym here at the point where painting is going to start. And so these things have been very thought out. They've been very measured. They've all been board approved, and they are going to be very impactful. One of the things that I hope that I further in this community, in my time here, is a sense of pride. Is a sense of pride in our schools. I hope to be able to further that. And some of these initiatives, in addition to the initiatives like our RTI program that we're starting in the fall of junior high, are really going to be significant. And I really pray that we continue, that you continue that positive momentum. So when you get a chance, take a look at those summer projects. They're really impactful. That's all I have.
Yeah, so I got to look at the unfinished product, and it does look good inside the school.
We've pretty well covered the COVID-19 update. You want to expand on the ESSER grant?
Yes, I will. So as I alluded to earlier, there are a few pieces in what we need to get done specifically. We're looking at, if I can find it, new sinks for our little ones that will have the, what do we call it, touchless sensors so they don't have to on off. And those are expensive. Bottle fillers are expensive. We'll have, I believe, 4 bottle fillers in each building at the completion of this. And then sanitizing equipment to be able to, it's the Ghostbusters kind of, put on the back. And you can do like a whole room of 2.5 minutes. And so getting those are expensive and getting one of those for each building. Again, all this is paid for with federal funds and maybe $2 per spend.
Can those also be used at the buses?
We're getting a handheld one for the train.
Nice.
Yep, you got it.
Hey, Larry. Larry, under old business here, can I just state that
I respect the transparency in the last meeting, but it's, I feel that
it's the board president's role to speak with the lawyer, so I ask that anybody has questions that would go to me, to go to the board president. That's his job, that's what he's elected to do. So Larry, I'll leave that with you, sir.
Thank you. Are we discussing hourly and?
So I actually need a board motion for the approval of those health measures to be paid for by federal funds.
Which we already discussed, I believe.
We discussed?
Wait.
So I need a motion to continue hourly employees and stipends.
No, Larry, we're back on to buy those.
Oh, for the ESSER?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The grant purchases.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the health measures not to exceed $20,900 to be paid through the ESSER grant.
Second.
One.
First and second, I got 1 second.
Yeah.
Yep. Lucius.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Now,
Now we're in this.
yeah, so
Yeah, go ahead.
This conversation is a continuation of the conversation from March. You recall in March, the board made the determination that during the fourth quarter, all hourly employees and stipend positions that were not able to fill their contractual obligation, whether it be a fewer number of hours or not being able to do their stipend work, the board made a resolution that they were going to continue to pay those wages regardless. And so this is a conversation. This has already been vetted through the personnel committee, and so maybe somebody from the personnel committee can continue that conversation.
Julie?
So after discussion, we'd like to continue as we were, as the funds were approved in the budget, and continue paying our employees as we have been in this pandemic.
Mr. Fox, I have a question of clarification. Is the mechanic on one of these schedules? I do not see them on the attachments that you provided. And they would be included in that group, no?
Okay. So under the N, so the conversation is about hourly employees not being able to work. There are a lot of number of hours due to the pandemic. It's not a conversation about wage. And so in March, we had the board agreed to pay all of those hourly and stipend positions regardless of whether or not that work actually got done. And so the conversation in the personnel committee, I believe, was a recommendation to continue that philosophy as long as the pandemic existed. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
So for clarification, can you answer, is the transportation group of employees, including the mechanic, bus drivers, and monitors, included in this recommendation?
So the bus drivers, the transportation personnel are one of the hardest hit, especially in an environment where we weren't able to have any in-person school. Those people were definitely not able to work their hours. And so if this philosophy is not continued by the school district, those will be one of the hardest hit groups.
But they are included in this motion, correct?
Of course.
Correct.
Of course, this is
Thank
for
you.
all.
They're not in the materials.
No.
Yes, this just carries through what we talked about in March. So we don't have to motion on it because we had already motion on that in March. So unless there was,
This is, you're talking about the authority to pay people for work that they haven't actually done. I would like a motion.
You want a motion
this.
on this?
I
Okay.
would like the board to give me the authority to continue
Okay.
paying people that aren't able to do the work.
Or to do their regular job.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Missouri motion, I'll second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Holder?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weissman?
Yes.
And the preliminary fiscal year 20 summary.
Yes, that was included in your packet, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we had our fiscal year ends end of June, and so we have an internal set of checks and balances that we use. So what we have currently are numbers that have gone through that system of checks and balances, but have yet to be fully audited. That process will be done in the next couple of months and then reported out in the fall. However, those balanced numbers I put in my last update. We were budgeted to have a revenue of $13.9 million. That revenue was actually almost 14.3. We're expected to expend $14.5 million. The actual expenditure was about $70,000 under that budget. So I know that we were budgeted to be in the red last year by $664,000, which can be kind of a big alarming number. The actual amount was $201,000. So when you look at the amount of money in the bank, that Beecher index that I like to refer to, when I walked in the door June 30th of 18, the amount of money in the bank was 15.3. At the end of last year, we bumped up to 15.6. And this year it is at 15.4. So in the last 2 years, we've put $81,000 in the bank and continue to move forward. All of the construction projects that have been approved, the vast majority of those payments will actually come out of the next year's budget. And so over the course of the next few weeks, we'll have a finance committee meeting to vet the tentative budget. Will be brought to the next regular board meeting in August for September.
Thank you, Sean.
shows very responsible spending. As always.
Any questions? Thank you. Moving on to employment matters, I need a motion to approve the resignation of the boys junior high school boys cross-country coach.
Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri? Yes. Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
And I need a motion to approve the resignation of the boys junior high school boys basketball coach.
So moved.
Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
Motion to approve the employment of the Beecher Junior High School cross-country coach. That's,
Ian Rance.
So moved.
Second.
yeah, I don't have any names on it.
Do you need a copy of the?
Okay. Been moved and approved.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
We're on 3, right?
We're on 3.
Yes.
And who made the motion?
That was
I second.
Julie, Ron?
Ron and Julie.
Okay. Go first and second. Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
Okay.
I need a motion to approve the retirement agreement for Mary Beth Hayhurst as presented effective after the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
That was good. Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the resignation of Alexa Earl as special education teacher.
So moved.
Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the employment of a special education teacher.
Yeah, and the name was in the packet. What
Is it?
Mary Ann?
Mary Ann.
Marianne?
Mary Ann.
Something.
Borkenhagen.
Marianne Borkenhagen.
So is
There we
she
go.
gonna be the lower cross cat, and then the other one is gonna be the 3 through 5? or-
That would be the term.
Okay.
Yep. So do I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the membership renewal with the Illinois High School Association for 2020-2021 school year at no cost to the district.
So moved.
So moved.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the federal consolidated plan for title funds as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiser?
Yes.
Mr. President, we missed number 7, I do believe, correct?
Oh, Article 7.
Oh, that's where it was.
Yeah, just
Oh,
7,
fiscal year.
is just a reaffirmation. All those hourly employee wages were set in October of 19. Just wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page with that. For wages for classified employees making over $15 an hour, we're set for last year and this year, whereas those making under $15 an hour were phased in over, I believe it was a 6-year phase in to be responsive to the minimum.
Okay.
Do we need to? And we approved this last year?
Yes,
Yes.
but we're just getting ready to pay for all the people, I just want to make sure everybody is.
Okay, and do we need to approve these meeting dates?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, those are our standards.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Motion to approve the board meeting dates for fiscal year 2021. Again, it's on Mondays except for October and November, which are holidays, which they will be on Wednesday.
So moved.
Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Golder?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Lucius?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Golder? Yes. Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Goodbye.